各位朋友们，大家好。
Hello everyone.
今天咱们聊一个特别严重的话题。
Today
就是
we'll
这个
discuss
命
a
运
very
可以
serious
改吗？
questions.
或者可以
Whether
改
can
命运
fate
吗？
be changed?
你们俩觉得呢？
What do you two think?
我们特别想听师傅来给
You
我
want
们
to
讲
hear
一讲
masters?
好的，好的。
对，那这个命运也是大家都特别感兴趣的话题
Because fate
哈
is something that a lot of
可
people
以
are
改
very
吗？
interested
之前
in.
我们还有一个问题，就是这人的一生的吉凶祸福啊，
And we also
啊
have some
贫富贵
questions
贱
pertaining
呐
to this.
是不是都注定好了的？
Is it
就是人的
predetermined?
命是否是天注定的
Is
呢？
fate predetermined?
好的，那我们今天就讨论一下哈。
So
比如
let's
从物
discuss
种
this
来说
topic.
哈，比如说，一只狼很难变成狗，
Say if
一
you think
只
from
鸡
a
很难变成鸭，
physical perspective, it
对
is
不对？猴子多
difficult
么聪
for
明变不成
a
人
dog,
这个是物
a,
种哈。
a chicken to turn
差异
into a dog.
但是这个人的命运呢？
But what about a human's life?
我相信是每个人都有兴趣，因为有了兴趣，就是说，尤其是当代特别相信科学的人哈
I，believe
就是已知的
many
这个
people
科
are
学的
very
人
keen to
其实
find
他
out
更
more.
相信命运。
In fact,
他怎么个相
some
信
people
法呢？
believe more
他
in
用自
fate.
己说，我拼命努力的去读书，
Why do
我
I
努
say
力地
that?
去工作，
Because
我
some
努
may
力
say that
去
if they
营
work
造一个
hard,
美好的人生，
they want
对
to
不对？
create a good
哎
life.
他用这种所谓科学的方式
He used
来
this
印
type of
证着
scientific
说
method
这个命运是不是就是
to
说
prove that
没有注定的，
maybe
我自己
fate
在创
is
造，
not
所以
predestined.
他印证这个问题。
They can create
嗯，
their own fate.
那在我已知的这个命运来说的话呢，
As far
就
as
不
I'm
太一样
aware,
就很多人说有点觉得我有点迷信的那
some
种
may
感
find
觉
that
啊
I'm a little bit
就是
superstitious.
就是你的命运能不能改，首先建立在第一个点上，
I think there
就
are
是
few
说
points
你
to,
能不能知道自己的
to
命运
note.
呢？
One,
你知道
do
自己
you
是
know
什么
what
命
is your
吗？
fate?
如果你不
Before
知
you
道
want
这
to
谈不
change
上
it?
怎么改不改，对不对？
If you do
人
not
富
know
有
your
了，你
fate,
很难说，那我是
how
个
can you
贫
say
穷
you
的
want
命
to
运嘛，
change it?
对不对？哎，说我是个富贵的命运，
Say if
未
you
来
have a
成全了
very a
倒霉
life of
了
good
成
fortune,
功了，是不是也改了呢？
and
不知道。
if in the future you becomes a beggar or you
怎么
becomes
能知道
poor,
自己的
is it
命运呢？
because your fate have
这叫
changed?
预言家呀，
哦，
对，因为通常算命的人哈，
Usually,
小时候或者年
a
轻，
fortune teller
那通常我们爱我们的父母亲呢，有的时候这个孩子得点病，
So
慢慢
why
康
do
复起来
they
之后
look for fortune
心
teller?
里不踏实，
Maybe some
觉得
people are
这个
not
孩子
healthy
现在
when
怎
they're
么样
young.
啊？
So
是
the
不是身体
parents
健康啊？
feel that is it
是不
because
是
they have some
有个好
health related
命运？
problems,
其
or
实
is
最
it
怕的是
something
养大。
relating to their fate?
通常
Because
会
the
找一
parents are
些
worried that it's
算命的
difficult
人
to
给你
raise
算一下。
the young child, so they may
你
look
像
for a
一些
fortune
地方
teller
或者一些大城市哈，人
to
家早
help
就
to
知
read
道
the
有
fortune
些
of
知名
the
的
young
相
kids.
师，就是命相师啊。
So
因
in
为
some
知名呢，大
cities,
家就说
there are
他算
some
得准，
very
咱们
popular
请他给算一下。
fortune teller that they may seek out these
应该
people
说在过去
to
的
help
时候，
them to look at
甚至说在
look at
当
their
代的
fortune.
中国乃至全世界，我相信绝大多数人，就是可能父母亲找人算过，
I
或
think
者
in
至
a
少
lot
有一
of
半的人
places around the world, even in China,
嗯，
usually it's the parents that bring the child to look
小时候可能
for a
那是
fortune
小时候
teller.
呀，他就算过呀。
So have you done that before? Yes, when I was a child.
我妈妈好像可能找人给我算过。
I think my mom
对，
has
爱你一定会给你算。
find someone to read my fortune before when I was a kid.
其实一般大家都算过。只是
I
有
think
的时候呢
generally
是出于说
Everybody
生
somehow
命
have
迷
their
信的问
fate
题，所以觉得
be
我没算过，我
read.
不知道，我不信啊。
But you may be too young to remember that, or some people may say that they don't really quite
中国
believe
人
in
都
it.
知道的有一部电视剧，叫做《大宅门》。我记得
So
10年20
in
年前还是
China,
多少年前
there
也
was
不是很
actually
远的之前哈，有个
a
拍的非常好的
a show
电视剧叫《大宅门》，当中的这个导演郭宝昌老先生呢，他70多岁的时候，他接受某电视台的这个访问的时候啊，他就讲了一段
And this Grand Mansion Gate,
算命的事情。
it is actually,
说起来可准了，大家可以看看哈。
好，
you can choose to watch this show.
我小时候算过命一次，是北京一个很神的一个。
When I was young in Beijing, I chanced upon a very special fortune teller.
无数的大师大家都
And during that time, a lot of people will ask him to read the fortune.
我也知道很多很多。
And he has been very,
我去给他，我去找他。
he was able to predict the fate very well. So I went to seek out this fortune teller.
买的，谁买的我，谁卖的我，我的父母在哪儿？我那边是个谜。
Because at that point in time, I didn't know about my
不
background.
是这家的人，我就特别想。
Actually, when someone told me that I don't belong to that family, I want to find a fortune teller to read my fortune.
几乎让我目瞪口呆。
And he was so accurate
对，头一句
that I was shocked.
他头一句说，我到现在非常清晰的记得，他说你自幼父母双亡，
And the first thing that he told me when he saw me is that I
埋我的这个
my parents were dead when I was born, and it's best that my aunt raised me.
叫姑妈，
And the funny thing is that, indeed, my parents died when I was very, very young, and I don't know about them. And I was raised by an aunt. And I told him, who tell you that?
他就急了，他说你可以不算，
So he said, well,
你可以走。
you can go, you can leave, you can stop asking me to read your fortune.
我说那你往下说，他就说你是12岁，
And he continued to say that
就是一个12年一变，一个12年。
you have 12 years of fate. Every 12 years is one fate.
后说了吗？
前边后边全说，
So he told about my fate, and everything was so accurate.
一直在，我就
He said that when I was 23, 24, I will be jailed.
牢一直在，我坐大牢，这不胡说八道吗？24岁我被揪出来反革命，
Well, when I was 24, that was a cultural revolution.
坐大牢的时候就想起这个事情。
And I thought about that. That was so accurate.
中年没有钱花，
I was imprisoned during the cultural revolutions.
特效了。
And they said that you have no inheritance.
我想
And I said, what? No, I was born rich. I have a lot of inheritance.
我妈妈所有的那些，她的所有的钱，所有的
My mom had given all money to me.
花一下超光，
Well, during the cultural revolutions, we lost all our wealth.
要转运，
And they said,
要转运。
your life will change
我一
when you reach 12 years old, and you have to change your name. And I calculated,
岁转运，
well,
有牢狱之灾。
I
24岁今天，
went with this family when I was 12 years old,
36岁，
and 24 years old, I was jailed because of cultural revolutions. And 12 years later, at 36 years old, my life becomes normalized. And when I was 60 years old,
他算到我60岁，
well, I
算不下去了。他说你40
created the Grand Mansion Gate,
没有了，我算不。
this TV series.
我说那是不是我就？
And after that, I said when I was 64,
而但是
he said, I'm not able to continue to read your fortune
过了这个坎儿，
because you will reach a hurdle when you're 64.
4岁的时候您遇到坎儿了，
What happened to you when you're 64?
都不敢出。
I don't dare to leave the house when I was 64 because I was afraid that the house would collapse.
老婆也说
And my wife said,
少坐车，
try not to leave the house, stop taking car, don't take shape, and just stay at home, don't take airplanes. You stay at home for a year. And that's how I passed my 64 years old. And subsequent to that,
活到
I gained all the years, and now I'm in my 70s. I'm very pleased.
好玩儿哈。
嗯，
It's very funny indeed.
你看讲，因为这个给他算命的人呐、是个盲人的大师傅。
Well, the fortune teller that read his fortune was actually a blind fortune teller.
衣着光鲜呐、
So he
啊
couldn't
穿着
see
皮鞋
his
戴着
aura
名贵的手表
or whether he came as a rich person.
完全是
No
靠算命的算。
And he basically just used his own intuitive
你看
to
郭宝
feel
昌
it.
先生呢，其实他就是自幼父母双亡。哎
Actually,
接下来呢，就是其实
Mr. Guo, when he was young,
卖
his
给这个大
parents
宅门的这位
died,
女士，就是
and
他
he was
的
given
养母
to someone.
所以一开始呢，养在他的娘家，在娘家哈，女人在娘家，就是要么就做姐姐，要么就是姑姑，这样的。所以呢，他把这个养母呢，
So this is director, the Guo Bao
哎，你看好玩吧？
好玩儿。
人家一下子去给他说
对，第一句话就说的特别
Guo Baochang,
对。
who is the
郭先
director.
生以为说你知道我
When
呀
he went to the fortune teller was very good at reading his life.
对，
算命为职业， 这每天来这么多人，我怎么知道你是谁呀？是吧？
Actually, there's no way for the fortune teller to know him.
转一个大运，
But the fortune teller could predict that his life would change every 12 years.
这是一个两个
So when
12
he
年
turned
哈
12, he was given
这个
away.
原因那个时候就是
0 years, when he was 0 years old, both parents died.
来了，
And 12 years old, he was adopted by a wealthy family. When he turned 24, he was
电影
jailed.
大宅门的这个就是当今的这个中国最知名的北京的一个药厂的这个传人。
Actually, the Green Mansion Gate, this story is about a traditional pharmaceutical company
所有
in
人都吃过
Beijing.
他家的药，
In fact, a lot of people in
人人都吃
Beijing
他家的
have
药，你想他得
consumed
多富有？
the medicines
那算命的时候
from
你
their
是
company,
得到
pharmaceutical
这个
company.
这个主
Can you
意啊，你
imagine
们家
the
财富
wealth
得
that they
到
have accumulated?
你说那个时候文革谁没有罪过？
Well,
对
during
不对？
that time
反正
of
有
cultural
钱的啊有知识的
revolutions,
都给打了，都给抓了
everyone who is rich, they will be condemned,
这是他的
and their
民国
wealth will be
六
confiscated.
哥12年，36岁
So 12 years
打倒
later,
四人帮，哎，
when
平反
he
了
turned 36
也释
years
放
old,
了
he was released
48岁又12年
from jail.
进入到电影这片
And when he was 48 years old,
对，你看
he
好玩
went
哈
into filming industries.
又过12年呢，
And 12 years later,
大宅门，
拍大宅门。
when he was 60 years old, he directed the Grand Mansion Gate.
看过，
就现在看还是比较经典的。
是
It is a very
然
classic
后他那个质量，
Chinese
当年的
historical
电视剧之中哈
television series.
他是拍的最好的。
In fact, during that era, it was a very high quality TV
就
series.
当时几乎中国所有知名的演职人员
In
都
fact,
投入了
During
这
that
个
time,
演一个小角
it
色。
starred
最
all
知名的导演
famous
张艺谋先生
movie
在里面只扮演一个
stars
小小的一个角色
角，色，
and even the
对
directors had a
都给我
very
们这
small
个
part to play
大导演
in
留
this
面
TV
子啊
series.
给郭导演留面子。哎，你好玩哈。
好玩。
It's very interesting, isn't it?
所以你看他这12年的
So
一个
as you can see, he has this 12-year cycle. There's a change.
10来岁的时候去算，你看都算准了。
He went to the fortune teller,
到最后去看，
and
对
the fortune teller was very
虽然走过
accurate.
了自己的这个人生历程哈，因为过去还没有发生嘛，哎，人家在跟你说你的未来的人生，说这个时间还没到来，啊，其实就是预言
So the fortune teller is a little bit like making predictions of your
算命
future.
人生意思
It's about the
好玩哈。
predictions of your
我
future
相信
life.
他的年龄、他的知名度、他的修养，不可能编这么个故
I feel that with his level of
所以
popularities, he wouldn't want to make up these stories. This must his real
这
experience.
些就是能掐会算的。
And personally,
特异功能神
I
通
have
的人
encountered many very outstanding fortune teller.
我觉得很正常。
And
但是
based
我
on my
对于
experience
绝大多
with
数人来说
very
都希望知道秘密
fortune
但是呢
of
有
fortune
时候
tellers,
相
I
信
feel that what he said
但
is the
有一种
truth.
算命肯定不准，他就是立刻把你哄高兴，就是为了多
But there are
拿
some
点
fortune
钱
tellers,
啊
they are
就
not
说对你好
genuine.
你高兴嘛。
Well, when you approach them, they will try to tell you things that will please you.
拍你的马屁，就是是啥就是啥。
But
算出来
a
他就
genuine fortune teller, they will not try
所以
to
的话，
sweet talk you or please you. They will just tell you the truth. So actually, fate is predetermined, Master.
看看他64岁
He also said
的
that
命哈，
when he turned
那先
64,
生算不下去了。
the fortune teller said that he's not able to predict further.
命到这儿也就终了。
So his question to the fortune teller is that is it because his life ended at 64?
但是呢，
The fortune teller said,
人的
well,
命数之中有
maybe.
点变化
But he also reminded him that there's change to a person's life, to a person's fate.
放油随着你自己的口
And
感
it is like you add different
慢慢调
flavor.
整但是
You may
大
add
致上
some
你的命就是
spice,
这样
you may add some salt, you may add some oil,
哎那
and
就
it may
他说
change.
常坎儿
But
其
he
实
did
就
say
坎
that
就是坎坎
there is a hurdle
啊
that
一
he
个
have
过
to
一个关的
cross
意思
when he turns 64.
其实所有的命相师都会告诉我们的，
Actually, a lot of fortune teller
你这个人还有点德
will
行
tell
的
you that you have
话
some
做
virtues.
善事啊
If you're someone that always do good deeds, you may
有
able
可能活到
to
70 80
overcome the hurdles. And if you overcome the hurdles, you'll be able to live until in your 70s and 80s. So apparently, he lived until 83 years old. When he was interviewed, he was already in his 70s.
你看到64岁的时候，他真的，他像他说的哈，不能坐飞机，不能坐轮船，就坐在
Yes, you
屋里头
remember
都怕
what
塌下来
he said when he was 64? In order to pass that hurdle, he dare not leave the house. He dare not take airplanes.
所
He
以
dare
在
not
人生这个命运的预
be
言
on the
哈
sea
就是这样子。
and seldom on the road. I think that's how fate is.
历史上非常著名
I want to
的
share something with you,
一位被预言的
and
人
that is someone that
那这个
that has
这个
been
故事的这个主角呢，
historical significance.
搏击，
对，
And this person is
这个搏击呢，这个是
Bodhi
在这个
Empress Dowager Bo.
大秦帝国乃至到这个西汉王朝过渡的这个过程之中，
It is during the interims between the Qing dynasties
是谁呢？
to Xihan
相
dynasties.
项羽，
对
楚汉相争，
对，他是在那个时期的人。
So she belongs
那我
to
讲
that
讲他的
era.
出身哈。
So let me tell you a little bit more about her
那个时
background.
候呢，就是秦始皇
During that
统一
time,
中国，
Emperor Qing
统一
united the
中国
whole
的
of
时候
China.
就是因为那个时候中国呢有几个所谓的大一点的小国，
And at that time,
你们还
China
记
had
得
a
吗
few
这个
smaller kingdoms.
秦
Do you remember these
Wei.
kingdoms? This Qing kingdom, Wei kingdom, Tu kingdom,
对，
Zhao kingdom,
齐
Qi kingdom.
大概7个大国。
It's about
周边
7
的还不算哈
kingdoms. We ignore the small kingdoms at the fringe, but the 7 major
伯妃呢
kingdoms.
这个伯姬呢
And
她
Bodhi,
是其中魏国的
he is one.
伯姬的母亲，应该说伯姬的母
So
亲，
Bodhi's
她是
mother
当时的魏国的
was
这个一个贵族的
a noble
很
of
高
the
级
Wei
人物
kingdom.
王族之中的一个
So
女
they
人
belong to the
但这
upper
个女人
class.
呢，也是可能当时青春年少哈，
But maybe because she
芳心
was
大动，
youthful
和这个一个
and naive,
底下的仆人男仆人
so she had an
哎
affair
有这个爱情的过程，
with a male servant.
那这个过去就不得了哈，哎，这个
And for
阿萨
that to
好了
happen
之后呢
during that
就生
era
她的这个伯姬
is
当时
unacceptable.
这个小姑娘哈，
And
看也有点
she
这
gave
很真
birth
实的
to
历史故事
Bodhi.
哈。
This is a
哎
true
那这
historical
个所以这个伯姬出生呢，就在
event.
这样一个很尴尬的这么一个
So Bodhi
哎
was
这个家
born
庭氛围里头。
in
啊
such
这个或许
a
是不好意思
awkward
见人的
situations.
啊，那伯姬的母亲是贵族，脸上也无光彩。
So the mom
对，
felt
那
very
这个所以
ashamed.
妈妈呢，对这个孩子这个情况本身是自己造出来的事儿哈，你觉得对不起这个孩子。
So Bodhi's
对
mom
他
felt that
就
she
是
had let
百
her
般的呵
down.
护。哎，等他稍微长大一点之
So
后
when
呢
she's a little bit
妈妈
older,
想方设法呀，
Bodhi's
哎
mother
想方设法，
tried
因为他们
various
是魏国
ways
的嘛，
because
哎
they
她是
belongs
贵
to
族
the Wei
想方设
kingdom.
法把这个女孩子
So she
就是
tried her best
托人找关系，就是送给这
through
个
her
当时魏
connections
国的国王。
to send
魏
her
国
to
国王的一个
become
名字叫鲍，
a
其实魏国
concubine
人他是
to
国王
Wei
他们
Prince
是
Bao.
最高级的贵族，姓姬的啊。你看那个周天子，他们当时尊奉周天子哈，哎，对，姓姬啊，那他也是姓姬的啊，所以历史上称为他是魏王，就一个字儿叫鲍啊。
So
让
she
他嫁给魏
became
王鲍。
the
当然
concubine
那个时候人
of
不是
Wei
一夫一
Prince
妻的
Bao.
这个概念。
the king
没
of
有一个
Western
规定
Wei,
说
Wei
你
Bao,
娶
which
这
is
个
the king
没
of
这
Western
个
Wei.
说法，就是反正你有能力，你有财富，你就娶老婆嘛，就是这样。但是国王的话，根本就更没谱了，到底有几个女人是属于他的，他也不清楚。
But as the
是比较
king,
多的一
they
些。
can have many
那所
concubines.
以这个伯姬的母亲把她想方设法嫁给了这个，
So although
魏王
Bodhi's
之后
mother tried her
就是
best
变成是
to send her to
好
become a
这个后
concubine,
宫中的众多女人
she
当中
became
一
one
个。
of the many concubines
那么待了2、3年
of
下来之
King
后，
Wei.
妈妈就问怎么你
After a
怀孕了
few
没有？她
years,
说没有，对，平
The
常
mom
见
was
不着
anxious.
所以就
Why are
我
you not
就
having
骂
a
你看
child
我长
yet?
这个姿色，她都
And
以为
Bodhi
你
said,
不理我，她以为
Well,
我是
you
丫
look
鬟
at you look at
她
me.
还能让我怀孕呢，
Do you think
啊，是吧？
I will be able to be
那这
attractive
个妈妈
enough
就
for
着
him?
急呀，啊，这
The
个
mom
这个
became
在
very
里头
worried
如
and
果放到
anxious.
皇宫，这个王爷不理你的话呀，他还不如出来卖菜呢。
I should
啊
say that, well,
哎，
if you're
不行
in
我得找人给你算算这个
the
命。
palace
如果
and
说
you
如果
receive
将
no
来没什么
attentions
收获
from
之日
the
干脆出来
king,
卖菜饭
you're better just
啊
leave the palace
这个他毕竟
and
是
be a
贵族
normal
啊
vegetable seller.
花重金
So
这
what she
当时
did
那个
was
朝代之中有一个
Bodhi's mother
秦始皇都让他
paid a
当了
large
命主
sum
哎，就是后
to
来
have
的
Bodhi's fortune
这
told
个西汉王朝的皇帝刘邦哈，
by a
就是
female
封过
fortune teller.
这种叫爵位的哈，高级官职封过侯的一位大相师叫徐父，她是
Qiu Fu.
女的女相师，
She's a very
比女的可能
high-ranking
更
female
灵敏一
fortune
些哈
teller,
女相师。
Qiu Fu.
就现在我们学相学的人啊，我觉得学的相术中的很多知识，其实都通过她流传下来。
I think nowadays a lot
她的
of
书在进行总
a
结
lot of fortune telling, the type of related text
那么她
was
的母亲呢，
what she has
花
left
重
behind.
金大价钱，
So
请了
Bodhi's
这个
mother
最高
paid
级
a
的相
large
士
sum
徐父
to have such a
就给
high-ranking
这个伯姬哈
female
当时这个
fortune
小丫
teller
头
to
嫁
read
个魏王豹的小丫头，
Bodhi's
看
fortune.
看相，啊，这个许父见了他说，
And when the
伯姬啊
female fortune teller saw Bodhi,
这姑娘哈，
she
将来
told
不
her
得
mom,
了，可是
Madam,
天下最
there is no need to worry.
怎么个富贵呢？
This
我告诉你
girl
她都能
will
生出
give
天子
birth
来呀，
to a
她能
son
生
of
出一
heaven,
名天子来，做皇帝的妈。
which means will becomes a king.
皇帝是他生的嘛，当然皇帝他妈了。你想那就是什么呢？皇太后，
So what is she going to be?
那是全世界
She
当时
becomes
最
an
纯正的人应该
Empress
叫她
Dowager. That's a very, very high
因为
level
是许父
in the
那个是一个
kingdom.
很有名的人哈。这样大相
Because
是说
Qiu
的
Fu is a
然
very,
后他
very
妈
famous
生了
and
之后开心坏
high-ranking
了连跳3天5呀，
fortune teller,
太开
the
心了。
mom was elated.
哎，他们就开始往外传。
And they start to
结果呢，
spread this
本
news.
来
This
正
good news
不
spread
理这
quickly.
个伯姬的魏王呢，魏国国王嘛，就开始找伯姬。哇，这个其实你能生
So at that
天
time,
子的话，因
the
为魏
Wei
王不是
king
天子，他只是王，天子是
looked
指
for
皇帝
Bodhi.
皇帝下面才是王。在中国古代的
So in
王
ancient
和
Chinese
皇之间有这么大的
hierarchy,
差异
there is
就
slight
天下最大
difference
的那个叫
between
皇帝
emperor and king.
啊第二
The
才叫
emperor is the
王
highest ranking.
所
A
以
level
说
below
你能
is the
生
king.
出天子
And
来
they said
生
that,
皇帝
well,
来的话
if you can give
那
birth
我
to a
就
son
对
of
你讲
heaven,
说我将
you
来
would have
我
given
对象
birth
是
to
老
an
皇帝
emperor.
对不对
Then
咱儿子
I
还
becomes
没怀孕
a
就平常不理他，长得像丫
old
鬟似的啊，他
emperor.
长得并
At that
不
point in
美这
time,
姑娘
she was not
啊从
pregnant
此你
yet
对她
because she was not
我们希
attractive.
望他能给他生出一个天子来。
But the Wei king
结果
started to
呢
be nice to her, hoping that she would bear him
就
a
是
son of
当然
heaven.
我也没有考证历史说这
Well,
个魏王和别
I
的
didn't
女人能不能
testify
怀
the
孕啊，我没考
history.
证这个问题。反正和
But what
这
happened
伯
was
姬
that
姑娘呢在一起，她就怀不了孕。
For some
她就
reason,
不见任何
when
动
Wei
哎，
and with
这个
Bodhi
挺
together,
人的吧哈
she cannot
嗯
conceive for
但是
whatever
呢
reason.
这个期间呢，就让这个魏王哈，
And during this period,
那如果懂历史的人
for
说
people who know a
到
little
了
bit
这
of
个
history,
刘邦和项羽争斗的时候，
when
呃
there is
那
a
过
fight
去不是
between
已
Liu
经让
Bang
秦
and
始皇
Xiang Yu,
把那个七国都灭了嘛。
because
就
during the
有的
Qing
国家的名字
dynasty,
只有大秦
Qing
帝国
actually
齐齐
merged
等等
all
的
the
这些
kingdom
国家
together
都没有了嘛。
as one Qing
正是这个
kingdom.
原因哈，因为秦始皇死了之后，
When
他的
Empress
儿子
King
没有
died,
更大的能力来控
his
制
son
全
didn't
国
have the
所以他就
ability
造反了。
to control all
最
the
容易造反
kingdoms
的就是
together,
过去的这
to
个小国
get
家
the kingdoms to
啊
collaborate.
赵魏
So all the
楚
kingdoms,
等等的这些
they
这些国
start
家
to
开始
fight
造反。
with
那
one
他们的
another.
王权哈，他们的王权，他们的这过去的王室的人就造反。
And the kingdom within,
那你想
they
哈
will, the people will
刘
fight
邦
for power.
和项羽争，
Well, you
项
think
羽的
about
名
it.
号叫啥？
Xiang Yu
楚
and
霸
Liu Bang,
楚是楚国
they
嘛，
fight.
对，他也是
And what
楚
is
国
Xiang
的
Yu? Xiang Yu
王
belongs
室
to
的
the
后
Chu
人王族
kingdoms.
后人是这样
And
的
he is also
所以
belonging
之
to
前
the
的
royal
王族的
family.
后人就最容易造反。
So
因为
during the
人家本来
ancient
就是
time,
王
those
管不着我
belong to
西
the
方
royal
用
families,
兵把我打
they
败了之后
always
现在你死了，我开始造反。他的历史的大环境是这个样子啊。
try to rebel
所以
against the authorities.
当算了这个命之后呢，这个魏王哈，本来魏王他们联合着刘邦，
So
因为
during
刘邦
that
很难
time,
打
Wei
刘邦带了很
and
多
Wei
兵
king
啊，
had just allied
本来其中
with
这
the
个
Han Liu Bang.
这个魏王魏王叫鲍的这个人呢，本来是和这个刘邦是合作联军。
At that point in time, the Wei King Bao has just allied with
一起打谁呢？打
Liu
秦
Bang.
皇的这个王朝的统治。
They allied to fight against Emperor
是这个
Qing.
样子哈。等秦二世给灭了之后呢，变成谁和谁打了呢？那刘邦这一个集团，这个军事集团。
But when they
另外
managed
一个造反集团呢，项羽两人。
to fight
旗鼓
well,
相当，他们在争天下。
and when they won
懂
it,
得了哈，这
they
大概
fight
这个历史
against
的
Xiang
时
Yu.
空是这个样子。
So with another kingdoms.
这个魏王叫鲍的这个家伙呢，听许父
So
给他
upon
这个
hearing this
这个
prophecy
伯
by
姬
Xu
哈
Fu,
给他的妃子伯姬算了这个命之后，就觉得将来这个大天下是我的
Wei
呀。
King Bao
你看我
feel
的
that
老
he
婆
will become
将来能生出
the emperor
这
that
位
will
天子来的
unite
话
the greater
证明未
China.
来成功的是我，对不对？
He
我
felt
真正
that he
牛
will
的
be the
话我
ultimate
干嘛和你结
winner.
盟啊？显得多没面子啊！我要独立。反正
So
将
he
来我
want
就
to
当
have
做皇帝来
independence
那肯定我是老大。
and decided to break away.
对，完了之后本来是结盟的嘛，该去
So
打别人是不打。
The allied
造反了，
dis-
我不给你
will
打
break.
干了刘邦一生气把他给灭了，
So he no
就
longer
把
relied
这个魏
on
王
the
给
Han
砍
King
了
Liu Ban
杀掉了。
because he believed that his son
结
would
果他
become
把这个魏
emperor
国给吃掉
and
了
he would surely
所以
becomes
他把魏国吃
the
掉了
emperor.
嘛。
Despite Liu Bang's attempt to
这个
persuade
整
him
个
to
大
surrender,
中国的那个
the
地
Wei
带
King
的
refused,
这个
and
魏国
eventually Liu Bang's army attacked the Wei Kingdom,
就是人的
and
心
Wei
站不
King
住的这个
Bao
位置
was killed.
如果不把他给灭掉的话，这个大国没法统一。
So everything in the Wei King's palace fell under the control of the Han Kings,
不联
which
盟我
is
就杀
Liu
了你
Bang.
那么这样把他这个魏国王宫中的这些女人呢，就
So
都封
everyone
锁到，因为
in
他
the
被汉王
palace,
给灭了
including the
这叫刘邦给
concubines,
收到他的后宫
became
该
captives.
干活干活，洗衣服、
as
种
well
纺棉花啊，缝衣服。
And Bodhi,
哎，那
as one
这
of
个
the
伯姬也
concubines,
是他
he was
众
also
多
a
女人
captive.
之一给弄
He was
到
sent to Liu
汉王
Bang's
后
palace
宫里头
and assigned to the silk weaving workshop to work.
都成为汉王的
So she
后宫的
became
奴仆
a servant
就这
in
样
Liu Bang's palace.
这
好玩儿哈
命运走势还是
So it's quite interesting when you see the
哎
fate
呀
of
所以我说做
Bodhi.
总统夫人也不容易呀
So that's why I say
哎
that
做
this is
这
not
王爷的
easy
夫人也不
to
容易何
become
况她不是
the
唯一的
wife of the
是
presidents.
众多的魏王的女人之一。
And for
好不容
Bodhi,
易说
it
盼着
was
什么
even
皇帝
tough
也没生出来
because
现在变成阶下囚。
对，
哎
she was
他们
one
的
of the
丈夫被砍
concubines.
头了
And during that
太
time,
命苦呀
the king
你想
or
他
the
们
emperor
其实
can
每
has
天
many
忧
concubines.
心忡忡啊
Can you
哪怕自己有一
imagine
天
they
被
live
砍
in agony
嗯，
and anguish?
夫的预言是不是不准了？
哎
Is
这
it
往下
because
听啊
Shifu's
因为这个
prophecy is
这
not
是预言
accurate?
那个
Well,
很
let's
多人都
continue
觉
to
得
listen
另
to
外
the
一个预
story.
言家也不是空谈的呀
Because
啊哪那么
Shifu
容易
is very
叫你觉得看到绝望
highly
了吗
regarded.
不可能哈
So there may be some truth in her
那
predictions,
这个
in her
伯
prophecy.
姬呢是一个有修养的人
Bodhi was
首
a
先
very
她是生在
cultured
贵族
lady
家对不对
because
就是她的
do
爸
not
爸跟
forget
这个奴隶
she
我
was
相信
born
她妈爱
into a
上这个
noble
奴隶
family.
吧也不是一般的
Yes, the
奴隶
father
啊
was
这
a
个
male
要不就有
servant,
能力要不
but
特别
the
聪明智
mom
慧的人
was
所以但是
capable,
她自己的家族又是
wise,
贵族对不对
and noble
她从小就
families.
受到了
So
非
as a
常
result,
好的这个教育
she
哎那
received
个时候
very
人生最
good
高的那个境界
educations
修道的概念
and
那一个
cultivations
道
at
法
a
哲
young
学
age.
对于这个
And she took a lot of
伯姬的母
interest
亲
in
哈
Tao,
以及对
in the
伯姬
learning
的
of
这个教
Tao,
化影响
and
非
this
常大
impact her
她首先还
tremendously
是一个有
in
修养
terms
的
of her
人
views,
如果学了
in
这样
terms
的
of her
道法
perspective of
其实就是
life.
学术观念嘛哈，她就变成有修养。
So she's actually a very
所以她
cultured
很会为
person.
人。她为人的方式，她从不去争。
So
她
as
总
a
觉得她
person,
能为和他们一起作伴的
she
那些
has a
朋
lot
友
of virtues
都能
and
做点
wisdom.
什么她不希望说我是个吃白
She
饭。
avoid
第
conflicts.
二个，我不
to
希望把
preserve
你
her
的东西
life.
传给我。
She
她
also
说我如果
avoid
能替你做的，
competitions.
我就替你做。
She never
我
sought
能给你
favor
就给你。
actively,
那她
and
是
she
特别
went
好的
with
女
the
人
flow.
肯定人缘很好。
对
So
呀
as a
在
result,
古代也好，在
she has
现代也
very
好
good
肯定是个大
interpersonal
家都干的
relationships
女
with many people
对不对？
in the
何况长
palace.
得也没有什么竞争力。
She
对不对
quietly
所以
raised
人
a
家都比较
son
实在。
and
我相信
treated
在女
others
人之中，
kindly.
这个人
Even the
深受这个
lowest
作为
ranked
作为一个
individuals
女士
in
们
the
的喜爱
palace with great
所
courtesy.
以其中呢有几个好的闺蜜，
So
都
she
是
has a
当
few
时
good
魏王
friends.
属下的这个属于叫妃子吧。
So
其中两个特别
these two
知己
close
的闺
friends
蜜，
were
这个
concubines
他们这个
of Wei kings as well.
魏王的后宫的这些美女们都不是归了这个刘邦的
So
后
as
宫了吗？
we understand that when Wei King was killed, his concubine was all brought to Liu Bang's palace.
哎，那刘邦就很赞美这两个人，说又懂事，长得又漂亮啊。
And Liu
这
Bang
两个妃子都共同说：“嗨，王啊，你还不知道，还有一个长得不
Li-
怎么样
like
但
these
是特
two
别贤
friends,
惠的一个女人。
and these two
哎
mentioned
可以透
to
露
Liu
消
Bang,
息啊。人说
they mentioned that
徐
they had
部
this
长
pact
都预
with
言说他将来
Bo
升天的
Bodhi, and they said that whoever
见见
became rich
刘邦
and
说：“哎，
noble first, they would
好
not
呀，
forget each
你
other.
看我像不像
Later,
天子？人
these
家
two
想说你
friends
像
were
啊，
favored
那
by
你
Liu
不敢找
Bang
他
successively,
啊。所以
and they
有
mentioned
的
the
叫人
pact
给
with
这两个
Bodhi to
闺
Liu
蜜的
Bang,
撺掇下，刘邦说：
and
行
that
行行，明
of
天
the
你约上我的
prophecy
建议。
by Shifu.
对，
She's
就
a
第二
woman
天
of
约
great
见。
virtues
哎
and
刘邦一
wisdom
见他说：“你
and
就
can
是
give
那
birth
个
to
伯
a
姬啊。”
son of
说
heaven.
我是啊。
So
哎
Liu
我
Bang
以为
summoned
是
her.
你在这洗菜的呢，啊，我以为你是个奴仆呢，啊，你行了，今天我还挺忙的，就要走，啊，一看长得确实，
So when Liu Bang summoned
毕
her,
竟在后
when she
后
looked
宫
at
的
her,
王
she
所
found
欣
her
赏的一群女人之中
unattractive
一定是显得比较漂亮的女人，对不对？
because
所以
among
这个
all her
伯姬
concubines,
呢，在这帮
Bodhi
漂
was
亮女
not
人之中确实
outstanding.
不出色，所以一看
She
这样
was
就说
very
找个借口
average
走人
looking.
算了，我不能说你太丑，我没空，啊，
留个面子。
嗯，那伯姬呀，非常的智慧。
Bodhi was very smart and
大
wise.
王，您怎
She
么样
reacted
我就报告一件事儿，你来
and
找
said
我
that, well,
我昨天晚上做了个
I had a
一个
dream.
神奇的梦
I had a very strange dream last
想听
night.
吗？我想
Do you
听
want to hear my
啊
dreams? She
那
asked
刘
Liu
邦
Bang.
喜欢听讲故事，
Liu Bang loved to
我
hear
梦到
stories and said, what's your
一头
dreams?
龙啊，
And
盘
Bodhi
在
said,
城
last
市的
night
肚子上，
I dreamt that
好吧
a blue dragon was coiled around my abdomen.
这个梦很吉祥。
And the Han Kings, Liu Bang
这
said,
样
wow,
这个事儿明天我再
this
报
is a very
那
auspicious
那我就
dream.
先
It's
做
a
着
sign of nobility. I will fulfill it for you. And he
这就是
stayed
历史的记
overnight.
录哈。
That was recorded in the
之后
history books.
这
It
个
was a
伯
history
姬
records.
很幸运的怀孕了。
And later,
再
Bodhi
之后
was very
10月
lucky
之后生下了
and
个
she gave
真
birth
龙宝宝，
to a son.
哎，一个小男孩儿，就是刘邦的
And that
一个
is
孩子，
Liu Bang's,
好玩儿哈。
the Han
哎
King's
真
Liu
生
Bang's
出来
son.
了可是不是魏王的，
And
是
then did
现在的
Bodhi
当时
gave
的
birth
刘
to a
邦还不是
son,
皇帝，
but
当时的
it's
刘
not the
邦是
child
叫汉
of
王
King Wei,
嗯，
but the
这个
Han
这个
King
汉王的
Liu
孩
Bang.
子刘邦之后就接下来就当皇帝了。等这个孩子到几岁之后呢，他们也就，这个刘邦不就当皇帝了吗？就当成了
Subsequently,
西汉王
Liu
朝
Bang
这
became
个大汉王朝的
the
总
king.
皇帝。哎，
the
那
Han
这
King.
个他有7、8个儿子呢。
And Liu
哎
Bang
这
had
样子
about 7 or 8 sons.
可是，在那个时
And
候呢，
Bodhi's son was one
在
of
那
the
个时
sons.
候呢，在这个刘邦的后宫里
And
头
during
啊
that time,
出现了
there
两
were
大
two
超强的
major
让历
powers
史学家哈都感觉头皮发麻的
and
两个女人。
the harems, which is the
因为
at the
因为这
among
两
the
个女人哈
concubines,
而引发了一个历史上，哎呀，非常恐怖的事情。
because of the conflicts of the two major
哎，
concubines'
是
power.
刘邦的，最
There
年
was
轻
some
正宗结发
conflicts.
妻子正宗结发的这个妻
One
子呢
major power
是姓吕，
belongs
历史上称
to
为吕后。
Empress Lü,
他父亲吕太公嘛，啊，
the empress,
还是吕后，他正宗的第一个老婆。
the first wife of
那
Liu
么
Bang.
在慢慢随着女人呢，随着年龄越来越大，
As she
刘邦
becomes
到处打
older,
仗到处跑，不可能天天能带着家属走。
she
对不对
cannot follow
在
Liu
这个打
Bang's
仗慢慢过程之
all
中
the
呢，
time.
又喜欢了一个美女，
So, although she was Liu Bang's primary wife,
就是戚继光的那个
she
妻，
became old,
历史
and
称为
frail
戚夫人。
although she still rules.
嗯，
And
这个
then
戚
there
夫
is
人
a
呢
consort T,
是一个，
Lady T.
就记载来说是很
Based
漂
on
亮。
the historical
又很聪明。
records, She was a very beautiful and smart lady. She could sing and dance well, and she could play the games of intrigues and has very strong influence on the emperor.
有一个这个能说的、会跳的，又能嘘寒问暖，能看着这个刘邦的脸色说话的一个美女的话，让刘邦呢
So because of her,
自己放松了。
he was
缓解
able
这个
to make
这
the
个过关的
to
这个
make
压力
Liu Bang's
缓解了
relax.
眼前的开会中的烦恼。其实你可以理解到这一点哈。
So you can
又
understand
聪明又
this.
漂亮，
When she's
又年轻
beautiful,
所以刘
youthful,
邦呢就
could
深
sing
深地
and
被这个
dance,
戚夫人
and that's why
给吸引了。
she was
哎
very
所以这
attractive,
个
and
吕
Liu
后
Bang was
吕后
attracted
不
to
在的时候，
Consort Qi.
吕后就是刘邦的正统夫人哈。
When
不在跟前的时候
Empress
就是这个
Lü
戚
was
夫人
not around,
哎成为这
the
个后
Consort
宫之主。
Qi became the main force.
但这个戚夫人呢有个毛病，
But she has a problem,
就是
the
第一个
Consort
就嫉
Qi.
妒心太强
First,
了。
she's
刘
full
邦比如
of
说碰碰
envy.
别的女人去，这个女人就会遭殃。
So if
就是
Liu
对
Bang
公
treat
德是挨打
other concubines
重
better,
则可能会消失。
she
他
would
这个
do
毛
some
病厉害
things
到什么程度呢？
to make
到后来
that
不光是
concubine
修理后宫的
disappears.
其
She
他女
has
人，
played some tricks,
而且呢，他还去
and she
在
always
刘邦面
cause
前
trouble.
挑拨是非，啊，这个
Not only get
编
that
编故事、弄谣言，
she
还
instigate a
害
lot
一
of
些刘
troubles,
邦下属的大臣。
and she even
他这么个人，
badmouth
对，
some very
你说
senior
这个就是
high-ranking officers.
有一个大问题了。哎，你想，刘邦的太太正统太太吕后回来之后，
So
那
when
吕后也不
Empress
是
Lü
吃干
came
饭
back,
也是非常的智慧
Empress
聪
Lü
明
is also very
也很大
smart and very
她本来是个
powerful.
心胸很博大的人，但是遇上戚夫人
She
这么
was
刁钻
actually a very
她就可以当着刘邦的面
magnanimous
就来
person.
制裁这个吕后啊。
But because
就是你
of
按
Consort
当代
Qi's
来说，你是新来的
behavior,
小三儿，是吧？你去整
she
治
can't
人家
bear
正统的这个夫人的
the
话，
behaviors
就
of
是你也
Consort
太
Qi
过于太上皇头上动土了嘛。但是
because she
戚夫
felt
人
that Consort Qi
啊
has no
不但
respect
去
for
修
her
理吕后
as a
去
primary
争风
wife
吃醋
of
还做了一件
刘
天
邦
大的，让整个当时的朝廷哈，引之为震动或一种
And
混乱
late-
的状态。
the Consort Qi did something
就是在古
that
代
harm
哈
herself
一旦确立了这个皇帝，
because
刘
in
邦当了
what she
皇
did
帝
was
大
during the
汉当他
time
的皇帝，刘邦也
they
有
have
点年龄
to
了，因为过去的人哈，在西汉就是大汉时期哈，那个时候人
set
平
a
均
crown
平均
prince.
寿命20几岁，
During that time,
比如说22岁、25
the
岁这个
average
样子
lifespan is
平均
20 to 30 years old. It's not very long
哎，那个时候一个医药不够，
because at that
还有
point in
那个
time,
粮食不够
because
再
of
加上
lack
战
of
乱
medical
非常
advancement,
的人的寿命
because
很
of famines,
所以这个是刘
the
邦的岁数啊
lifespan, normal human lifespan is actually relatively so
对不对
short.
那这个肯定当了皇帝就赶快的立。
So what happens is that whoever
太子
becomes
按
emperor,
现在的话
they
叫
will
皇
quickly
就是皇帝
nominate
这个职位
the
的
crown
接班人
prince.
而且
It
这个
is
接班
like
人
the
一定是
succession's
这个
planning.
皇帝的正统的
And
生孩子
usually, the
就是刘
crown
邦
prince
亲生的
will
孩子
have to be the
才能做这个
biological
接班人
son of
他
the
是问
emperor.
谁家的孩子就是这个概念。
It will have to be Liu Bang's son.
你们刘邦，你不可能找另外一个人来当皇帝，否则
You
天下大乱
cannot get
大家不
another person to become the
所
emperor
以呢，就
except
早早的
Liu
时候
Bang's biological child,
立
otherwise
了
you will
这
bring
个
chaos
吕后
to the
的
kingdom.
就是吕夫人生的这个
So
孩子
during
哈
that time,
哎叫做
the
吕
original crown prince was
吕太
actually
子
the
这个皇帝
son
的接班人
of
已经是
Emperor Lü.
那戚夫人呢，
But because of the Consort Qi, because of her instigations,
还得往上
Liu
爬
Bang wanted to
要让刘邦
depose his original
换
crown
掉
prince
这个太子，
and establish
要把他自己
her
生的这个
own
孩
son,
子叫做如意，戚
Rui,
夫人生的儿子叫如
as
意。
the crown
你
prince.
听这个名字哈，也是当时这个刘邦特别喜欢的一个
So
宝
you
贝
can hear that
是
the
后来的
name
嘛后生的
Rui is
越
also
小的孩子越容易
a
受
very
喜欢哎
a son that's very highly doted by Liu
这
Bang.
个刘盈给代替了。
So he
但
want
从母亲来说不乐意
Rui to replace
是不
the
是
original crown
你是
prince,
后来的小
Liu
三儿
Ying.
啊，完了你抢我
Of
们的
course,
爱抢我们的
Emperor,
情抢我们的权
Empress
利 抢我们的宠爱。
Lü
完了之后
was displeased
已经定了这个太子，你还给我
because
哎，
the crown prince was already
当时的
set
这
long
个朝
ago.
廷大臣都不乐意。
In fact,
但
during
是
that
西边
time,
的枕边
the
风啊
courtier
好
opposed
几位
this,
嘛，就把这刘邦愣给说
and
动
Liu
了。
Bang felt pressure.
哎呀，这个逼的这个吕后哈，哎呀，这实在
So
压力太大了。
Empress Lü
哎，吕后也是多方打听，
she
找出了
tried
解数
various
找
ways
方法
to
怎么
find
样才能说
methods
动丈夫，
to
不
avoid
把自己的孩子给换了。
to dissuade Liu Bang
哎，
from dispose his
他们毕竟是
son
夫妻
as the
嘛，
crown prince.
还是了解到这个刘邦啊，还是特别
Because she is the
当
wife
时
of
有
Liu
4
Bang,
个世外高人，
she knew that Liu Bang has some fear for the four sage.
是特别有智慧的4个人，
And these
特
four
别有修
sage,
养和智慧，
they
学
are
问那就天下第一呀。这4
highly
个高人呢，都
resourceful,
隐居在有一个山叫
knowledgeable,
商山，商人的
but
山，
they live high in the mountains
所以
at
古人称为
Baochang.
叫做商山4号。
So they are known as the four whiteheads of Baochang.
4位智慧的长者，
So they are
啊，刘邦
highly
呢
regarded.
当时请他们来
So
辅佐自己啊，这4个老头
Empress
子来
Lü invited
啊，
these
这个
four whiteheads
那
of
吕后呢动
Baochang.
用关系哈，就是
So
硬把
Lü Hou
这
was
4个高人
this
请来，
Empress Lü was very good
来
at
评论这件事儿。
using
而
her
这4个老头呢
relationships.
4个老君子吧，
And these four
就一
wise
起
men,
说现在的太子刘盈啊，是
they
个贤德慈悲的君王啊！哎呀，我们上天都爱他，我们更爱他。哎，就有这样一种
exclaimed
赞美的
that
这种表态
they are willing to
哎而
support
且其实当时
the existing
朝
crown
廷的
prince.
重要的大臣哈，
In
还都
fact,
倾向于
during
觉
that
得
time,
吕后是冤枉的。
most of the
这个
people
这
in
个
the
太子
court,
刘盈啊是无
the
辜的
governors in the court
并且
tend
这
to
个孩子啊
support
品德
Empress
很
Lü
好，因为为人很善良，
because
就这个刘盈。
Empress Lü's
他
son
们都看不惯这个戚
Liu
夫
Ying
人
was
这个
actually a very
横
good
行
person.
霸道哦，嚣张跋扈，是吧？
They
你还
don't agree
你争宠
with
就拉倒了，你还
the
让他太子又
consort's
犯了，
instigations
当时所有
to
朝廷大臣都
replace
反对
the original
这
crown
刘邦
prince.
想换，最后也没换成。
So in the end, Liu
啊
Bang
就
was
是
not
说既然是这
successful
样大家都觉得你
to
是个善
change
善
the
良
crown prince.
有德的人的话，
And Liu
哎
Bang
那就行了。
exclaims,
如果以后
since
你要当皇帝
everyone's,
的话，就
including the
大家
four
都臣
whiteheads,
服于
feel
你，
that you
我
are
就
the
放心了，
potential
就不
king,
用换了。
that will not change the
就
crown
没有换
prince.
那么
So these
在几
completely
年之后，
dispelled the idea
刘
of
邦
disposing the
就
crown
去世
prince.
了。哎，那刘
Subsequent to
邦呢，
that,
在当时的
Liu Bang's
那个
pass on.
那个时代环境哈，这刘
And
邦不是皇帝嘛，
during that
他
time,
的亲生的孩子
Liu Bang was the
尤其
emperor,
是男孩儿，
and
就被
his
封为
son
王。
will
比如
ascend
过
the
去的
throne.
那个叫楚国、
So
那
he
个
will
叫
become
赵国、魏国、
the
什
emperor
么蔡
of
国、啊燕国，是吧？
Zhao
啊，那
Guo
这些
of
地方呢
Hans.
还派他的亲生的儿子去封为王，比如去赵国的叫赵王，可是这属于刘邦的儿子，都是这样，各个王都是他的
So during that era, all the
很少
kingdoms
从
were
西
assigned
汉
will
王朝
have
之后
their
历
designated
史上
crown
很
prince,
少封
who are the
皇
biological
帝，
child
比如皇帝
of
姓
the
刘
king.
嘛哈，
If the
很
emperor,
少
the
封
last
外
name
姓的
is
人
Liu,
为王。
it is unlikely that they will find
除非
someone
说
of
你当时
different
为我们建立这个国
descendants
家
to
立
be the
下了
emperor,
绝对所有
unless
中
that
原人都
person
承认的
has
重大的功劳，才会封为
accumulated
王。
a lot
要
of
不然
glorious
不可能。
act for the kingdom.
你看大清帝国的时候，
Otherwise, it will not
你看
happen.
有把这个不
Look
是他
at
们家
the
的人封为
Qing
王的，
dynasties.
他没几年给灭了。你看吴三桂他们，
Like
是不是啊？
Wu Shankui, he tried to become the king because the Wu Shankui was the Man,
哎，爱
Manchurians.
新觉罗嘛，是吧？结果你是汉人，并且
Was
你
a- was
还
the
是
Han
另外一个姓，是吧？
But the Qing dynasty was actually the
封为
Manchus.
王。那他
And
当时
that's
不是
why
打开
He was
关
not
完了之
able
后
to be
让
on the
这个
throne for long.
满族军队打进中原来嘛，所以为这个清朝的建立立下了功劳，所以他封为王。但是没等多少年，清朝就得灭他，就是灭外姓藩王。
So there is
啊
this
有这个概念。所以从西汉王朝
concept
之后
about only the
这
people
个任
that
何一个
belongs
国
to
家
the same
在
clan
就不会
will
去
be
封
able, or the
外
royal
姓的
families
男人
will
为
ascend the
王
thrones.
因为他们封的王和后来的省长不一样，省长没有指挥军队的权利。
So the king has military
他有
power.
司法权利，
It's different from local government.
他没有调动军队的权利。
The local
但是王
government,
就不
even
一
the
样
highest level,
王是属
they
于
have
一个
no
小
military
国
power.
我这是这个国的
So if they are
国
the
王
king of
但是
the
我们
kingdom,
我们臣服
they
于
will
我
have
们的皇
military
帝
power.
战国时期也是这个样子，啊，这个战国时期是乱封，谁有功就封谁为王，但是不管你姓啥，就乱就乱在这里。所以西汉也封王是封自家的子弟，
So
这个
during
这个
the
大家就听懂了
Han
啊。
kingdoms,
所以
they
呢
will have their own biological
在这个两
descendants
个夫人
as
这个争
the
斗
crown
之后
prince.
啊，那么也就是就争红眼呐，争得不得
So
了。
because of
那么
this
在这个过程之中，刘邦也
conflicts,
他是皇帝了哈。去世之后呢，
so when Liu Bang
这个
died,
啊，这位夫人，这个各个，尤其是因为当时有大概7、8个儿子，
because as we said before, Liu Bang has 7 or 8 sons,
那都封为王了嘛。
and all of them are
对
various king
那
of
这
various
个刘
kingdoms.
邦一去世之后呢，
So when Liu
那
Bang
通常
died,
来说，出殡处理完之后，
after
你属于
the
该封为
funeral
王的
processions,
你
they
要到
need
你那
to
个属于你的
ascend
领地
the crown
比如
prince
你
to
的
the
领地
throne.
在现在来说是在代国去代国，在齐国就去齐国。
So
所以
after
你不能
the
待在这个
funerals,
京城
they cannot stay in the capital, they have to
伯姬呢，他
return
的儿
to
子
their
哈
own kingdom.
被封为了代王，也是刘邦的儿子了哈，封为代王，他7、8岁，
So one of the king
伯姬
was Dai.
非常的聪明智慧，一看他们后宫2个主人哈，就是吕后和戚夫人这个争斗，
But
已
Bodhi
经
was
达到
very
最高
smart.
潮了。
He found he is aware of the
皇帝也去
conflicts
世了，
between
他
Consort
就
Qi
在皇城待
and
啊，
Empress
随时
Lü.
弄不好就惹火烧身呐。
She's aware that if she
儿子被
continue
封为
to
代
stay
王
in the
说赶
capital,
快走人吧。
her
就赶快
son
到
may be
后宫的主
implicated.
人呢，这个吕后就请假，
So
说你看已经封了王了，啊，皇帝已
she
经推
asked
签了，
for
啊
Empress
我们就去
Lü
管理好我们的
permissions
代国吧。
to allow
因为
her
这个
to live
伯姬
in
很会为人呐，
the Dai
对他的
kingdom
老
with
大
the
爷
son
这个
Liu
吕
Heng,
后也是恭敬有
so
加
that she
啊
could stay away from
哎
the palace
他是一个
turmoil
为人非常随和
and
的人
live a
早已经把
peaceful
这个
life.
关系也弄得特别好了。
Because as mentioned before,
这个
Bodhi was a
伯
noble
姬这个人
descendant.
哈，就是个心
She
很大
can
又很
read this
善良的
very
一个人
well.
留着他在这儿，
So
我也帮不上太多的
Empress
忙。儿子已
Lü
经封为代王了，就让他去吧。
look at
儿
her
子
and
之后
say
也
that,
是
well,
啊，他们就去了代国。
she will not have a
哎
lot
对
of help
就
to
把那
her
个
because she is
也
too
不是个
kind.
富有的国家
So
了
she let her
代国呢，
live
就是在
with
当
the
今来说
son
中国
to
的
the Dai
河
kingdom.
北省、山西省。
So where exactly is the state of Dai? It's around the Hebei area in China.
哎，这么一个小国，
It's a very small kingdom.
成为那个地方的管理者
So
啊，
became
一去就是10
the
几年呢。
when she moved there, she was there for 10 over years.
很能够懂得怎么样保存自己的
So
信
Bodhi
用
was
哈
very wise.
她也
She
不留
knows
任何
how
皇
to
宫
make
的
sure
后
that
悔
to
对有机
preserve
会她
her
就
life and her
就说
son's
她要
life.
去代过。
对，那这个伯姬呢，带着孩子到了
Because
代
it
国
is
之
a
后
very
啊
is a border
那
areas
就是非
in the
常的
northeastern
安
part
宁
of
并且
Shanxi.
呢特别生活特别简约
So when she moved there,
啊，绝不会
Bodhi
什么
diligently
奢
married
侈啊
the kingdom
傲慢啊没有
and
啊
benefiting
爱
the
特
local
别热爱
people
他的人
with a
因为
son.
在这个地方他们就是国王。
So
那
in
这个
that
伯姬
area,
呢，就是这个地方的是王
the
太
son
后
is actually
因为
the
他的儿子
king.
是王嘛，他就是王太
So
后。
she's actually
所
the
以其实
Empress
等于
Bo.
是孩子那么小，怎么懂得管理国家？
So is it possible
其实
for
就
the
是这个
son
伯
at
姬
8
伯
years
太
old
后
who
在
became the
管理
king
这
to
个
manage the kingdom?
所以他
No.
很懂得这个管理
So
之道
Bodhi,
怎么样对
which
老
is
百
called
姓好
the
因为他对
Empress
人
Bo,
就
was
是
actually the
本
one
这个
who
道学
helped
的精
to
神啊
manage
要爱民
the
如
small
子
kingdom.
上天
But
就是他
Bodhi
说
was
这个
very
上天也好
fond
生之者
of
呀
Tao
所以
teaching,
我呢
teachings,
成为这个
and
国
she
王
avoided
或者是
conflicts.
王母的话，我一定是
She
爱民
adhered to the laws of
所以对
nature
代国的百姓哈
to
就是
achieve
恩惠有加
longevities
呀所以
and
从不
even
是
foresee the
剥削
future.
大家从不去
So
欺
she
负大家
lives according to circumstances, loved the people
对
as
所以
one's
他把
own
这样的
children.
感觉哈，就这种文化的传
And she
承，这
didn't
种
indulge
慈悲
in
的
luxury
心地哈
to preserve her
直接
life.
传承给他的儿子。
She lived according to the circumstances, and she taught Liu Heng at a very young age to understand the principles of calamities and fortune arise together, and using softness to overcome hardness, leading him to a humble and kind-hearted.
之后，历史上就发生了最惨的惨案，就是因为刘邦的正宗的太太就是吕后。当时跟刘邦打天下的所有的大臣，敬重的就是吕后。
Actually, when Liu Bang was around, Empress Lü was highly regarded.
就会给戚夫人灭门。
And when she raised to power because the crown prince became the king,
慢慢像比杀人还痛苦的方法。
she decided to get rid of Consort Bo and her entire
耳
clan.
朵弄聋了，眼睛弄瞎了，舌头割掉，四肢砍掉，就成为这样一个既没有死的，好像活着的一个生命状态，多惨呐！他就是报仇啊。
So she took revenge.
本来吕后也不至于是这么一个人。
Actually, Empress Lü was not such a person, but because of the conflicts, because of Consort Qi's intentions to get rid of Empress Lü's son as a crown prince, she held the grudges against Consort Qi. So she cleansed the entire clan of Consort Qi.
过去给他争风吃醋的刘邦手下的几个宠爱的妃子
And not only that, she also get rid of some other concubines favored by Liu Bang then.
他又把他吕家的娘家的这个阿猫阿狗的人都封为了什么这个王那个将军。
So when Liu Heng became the emperor, Han Wu,
有权力的这个职位。300-400人，
the Empress
吕
Lü
家的300-400人，那佣人都在朝廷做官。
raised everyone in her entire family to be high-ranking officers.
了15年。
When Liu Gang passed on for 15 years,
那个皇帝就是刚才说太子刘盈啊。
the new emperor Liu Heng
在他妈妈
Liu Ying
强大的压力下，刘盈
was
只管说点头，就跟你妈妈说。
very
妈妈
helpless
说同意就同意
because
妈妈
Emperor
说封
Lü
谁就封
was
谁
the
妈妈
one
说
in
杀谁就
power.
杀谁，就变成是
She
妈
has the
妈说的
final
话
say,
就代表
and she could execute anyone.
垂帘听政。
傀儡皇帝了。
其实傀儡皇帝。
So Empress
傀儡
Han Wen
皇
at
帝
the
的
time
形成就是首先这个年龄小造成，他不懂怎么做
have no power.
但是刘盈呢，这个身体又不好，
But
他
Liu
妈
Ying
这个
was not healthy.
简直是恶魔级的这个妈妈这个统治下呢，刘盈也20多岁就去世了，最后又
But
换了
he
一个后代嘛，一个小皇帝
Was there for like
也是干了
very
这
short
玩意
period
儿
of time,
所以
and
这
he
个
died.
吕后呢，吕后这个属于她真正统治的时代，整整15年。
So essentially, Empress Lü only reigned for 15 years.
当吕后一死之后，
So
因为
when
吕后她是有威望嘛，吕后一死，
Empress Lü passed on,
没被杀死的有权力的老臣，
those
立刻
court
联手起来
ministers
造反
immediately
就是
they
开始
hold a
去
rebels.
剿灭吕家的势力，
they started
恢
to
复刘
reduce
家
the
的丞
power
相，
of the Lü
恢
families.
复刘邦
So the
后代
court
人统
minister
治的这样一个
executed
朝
the
廷
Lü family's cliques.
这样他几个
and
刘邦
raised
正
the
统的
Liu
这几个王的
families
这几个
again.
孩子都给杀了。
But at a point in time, they discovered that out of the 7 of 8 sons,
有个
only 2
养子
of
叫
Liu
刘
Bang's
长
sons
没有杀，但是吕后
were
她的
still
养子
alive.
比较宠这个养子嘛，
对，
所以刘长长大就特别傲慢，想骂
So
谁
one
骂
of
谁
them
想
is
打谁
Liu
打谁
Zhang
说大家
and
讨
Liu
厌
Heng.
他那么活着的再
But
还有
Liu
一个人
Zhang
就是
was
现
very
在的
arrogant,
这个
while Liu Heng was
哎
kind
伯
and
妻的这
filial.
个孩子，哎，对，叫刘。
So the Consort Bo, Bodhi's son, is
因为
Liu
大家知
Heng,
道这个伯
was
妻的为人啊
a nice
是非常
person.
的谦
His
卑
boy was kind and
宽
virtuous
容仁孝
because he was
善良。
raised by the mom, Bodhi, who
他的这个
was a
孩
very
子刘
kind soul
恒
as well.
成为了代王哈。虽然真正的统治者是他妈，但是这个代王这小孩又特别的善良，但是又很聪明，哎，不闹事儿，很低调。
So Bo's son was very humble, kind, and
就是
virtuous.
说，在这个剩下的2个刘家的后人
So
里
out
面
of these two,
大家觉得还是
the
这个
court
刘恒啊
minister felt
更
that
好
Liu Heng
更善
is more suitable
尤其是他这个妈妈也
and
很善，
better
这个不一样
candidate
说
to
大家
be
就
the new
选了这
emperor.
个刘恒，
So they picked him
接了真正刘邦的班，成为
to
新任
take
的
over
皇帝。
as the
哎
Emperor
这就
Han.
是后来成为历史上鼎鼎大名的汉文帝。
So she became
汉文帝
the
在中国历史
very
上啊，
famous
汉文帝
Emperor
和他的
Wen
儿子，
of Han.
他去世之后接班人叫景帝啊，汉景帝。
And the
就是
son is
文帝
Jing, Empress
帝
Jing.
治理的差不多
So
30-40年的这个时间
They
里头
reigned
哈
for 30,
是
40
中
years.
国的大汉
And
这
that
个王
was
朝
the
时期
rise of
最
the
富有、
rise
最
of
贤
Han
德、最太平、
dynasties.
最好的一个时代。
And during that range,
是这样的，
太平盛
the
世
Han
太平盛世。
国际真的
was
上
very,
天
very
哎
peaceful.
这个天命
成为
应
天子了吧？
And that's why you look at it, the
那这
Bodhi
个不
became
光是生了，而且特别好。
give birth to the
这个文帝
son,
哈，
the
这个好
emperor.
可不是装的哈，因为他
Yes.
一当皇帝那么多年呢，那好的不得了。啊，举例子来说哈，
And
他们封赏的这些他的官员大臣呐，都穿的是布的、绸缎的。或
he was a
皮的
very
鞋
good
对不对
emperor.
文帝呢
Han Wen,
就是这个
Emperor
皇
Han
帝
Wen was a
穿的
very
是
good
草
emperor.
鞋
你大臣
皇帝的
He was
龙
very
袍哈
humble
40年舍不得换。
And he was a
因
very
为那个时候
frugal person.
有他那个纺织技术很
He
高哈。
wear
这个
straw
衣服龙
shoes.
袍肯定是
And
用蚕丝
even
刺绣
his
出来再加金丝
robe,
啊
the
宝
emperor's
石啊对
robe,
不对？
he
他一
worn
打
for
听
40
哇，这个
years.
龙袍花这么多钱呐，
He doesn't
都别做
want
这个
to
我
spend
这个
too much on
平常呢
himself.
省着穿，啊，也别弄脏它，不用的时候给它挂起来通风啊，哎。
He
所以有
was
的
his
时候
story.
让
He
我们
was the
穿着
most
穿着普通的
tolerant
布衣就
and
上朝
frugal
知道他是皇帝
emperor,
穿个草鞋，哎，
wearing
这
just
些
straw
处女
shoes.
就舍不
and
得
old
穿他的龙
clothes.
袍。到去祭天祭地的时候啊，
And he
祭祖
only
的时候
wear
才
his
穿他的龙
special
袍
robes,
这样
emperor's
办
robe,
公都不穿龙
on
袍
special
因为
rituals
这
and
个造龙袍
events.
太贵嘛。
Why?
买一双皮鞋
Because
多少钱呢？
to make a new
现在说
set
别人
of
花
emperor's
这
robe,
个
so it was very expensive.
500块钱，那时候铜钱哈，500个铜钱才买一双皮鞋，那买一双草鞋呢？
So
就
for
10 块
his
钱
shoes,
你说那干脆还
he
是
was
穿草
actually
鞋划
very
算
frugal. He
还
just
穿草
wear
鞋
straw shoes.
这是皇帝啊。
This is an emperor.
那么他在这个宫廷里头办公生活，对不对？其实挺闷的。
He worked in the
打
palace,
听这个城里头
and
这
it's
个
actually quite
皇宫以
boring.
外的这些事儿，对不对？很吸引他。
So all the
他一出去呢，
activities outside the
就会
palace
弄
are
得大
very
家就是治
interesting.
安问题、保安问题、
But
花
because
费
if you were to go
他也
out,
不敢轻易出去。但
he
对外
may
面还是挺
cause
向
a
往
lot
的
of
所以在
he
他
may
宫廷里头有个小山包，
use
他经常
they may
站在那
use
山
a
包
lot
上
of
来看
money,
他下
to
头那些
protect
助理
him.
助手哈，就是说，
so
你
he
看
tried to avoid
这
going
个
out too
这
much.
是皇帝，你站在这有时候那个太阳光给晒的。
So what he did
晒得
is
他
there
脸
is a
红
spot in the
啊
palace.
有时候下雨的时候
There's a
大雨
high
了他还
spot
在那站
that he
着
will
看，
stand there
说能不能给
and
他修一
gaze
个
at
亭
his
子
kingdom.
瞭望亭看城里头，是不是啊？
And this
来
spot that he has
避一
didn't
下
even
这
have
个
a shelter.
日光暴晒和这个大雨，哎，
So he was standing there under the
那
sun.
底下大臣都批了，说要动工，还问
They
多少
want to
钱啊
build
说
a shelter
2000多个铜钱，不
for
行
him.
不行不行。
But
我
when he
太贵了
heard the amount, the sum of money that was spent to do the shelter,
我不盖这亭子。
he disagreed to the sum
说这个
and
不
he
是
said,
装
No,
的啊
we
也
don't
不是
need
传说
that shelter
这
for
真
me.
是个特别节
So
俭
he was
但
indeed
是哈从
a
历史
very
评价
frugal
好皇帝
emperor.
不是因为节俭就是好皇帝。
But historically, when we
是
look
首
at
先
him,
皇帝
he's
的
not
职
a
位
good
是
emperor
管
because
理
he
人
was
民
a
对不
frugal
对
emperor.
让人民丰衣足
As
食
an emperor, it
天
is
天太平才
important
是好
that
皇帝
he
他都做
try
到了，他做
to
到了这
bring
个，并且还节俭，
prosperity to his
天下
nations,
第一
which he did.
仁慈智慧的皇帝。
And
这
that's
是皇
why
帝
he was
这
known
么个人
as the
好玩
most
吧？哎
compassionate,
呀，太好了！
frugal, and good
这些啊
emperor.
这个好，你说是天生的吗？
Is it natural? Is he naturally a good
教
person?
化吧，
I think there is also the part the
我觉得
moms
天生
play
的资
to
质也好
nurture him.
我觉得他这个妈妈好，
I think the
很伟
mom
大。妈妈就是这
was
么
a
个人
great mother
让孩子也变成这样的，
because
特别的善
Emperor Dowager Bo was a very
Ah,
kind and
仁爱。
compassionate
啊，他这个
person
满脑子都是爱
who
人
loved
民
the people.
哎所以
And
他
that's
当了皇帝
why
之后他就是这么做
When his
啊
son
不弄虚作
Liu
假
Heng became the emperor of Han Wen,
所以成
he
为了中国
followed
历史
suits.
上
And that's why he was the most compassionate emperor in the history of China during his reign. So Xu Fu, the female fortune teller, predicted that Bodhi would give birth to an emperor. Indeed, this prophecy comes true.
有点曲折的，哎，最
It
终
is
还
very
是
interesting, Master. Although there are some part that's a little bit
对，
not so straightforward, but
这个
indeed,
也是真的
he
充满了戏
became
剧性哈，师傅啊，跌宕
the
起伏
emperor.
啊，但是也像师傅讲的，
His
他的
life,
为人
Bodhi's
他的
life, was
处世
full of
哲学
drama.
哈，也让他最后得以就是非常好的
And
生活啊。
She endures wars and
他
palace
这个生
intrigues,
天子啊
but
有
she
这样的
managed to
天命
preserve her
啊
life
这个
and
真
fulfill
是
her
看着很
destinies.
大的这样的一个天
And
命
that's with
哈
patience
那
and
是不是
wisdoms.
大人物才会有天命
And
嘛
she avoided
像
conflicts
普通老百
and used
姓
softness to
啊
overcome
有天命
hardness.
嘛
Is there such thing as predestined life, Master? Well, I think destinies is about everyone has their own destiny. I feel that everyone has their destiny. People at high-ranking level, they have a great destiny. What about average commoner? They have their own destiny as well. I said before that you may be destined to be a cook. Maybe you just love to cook at a very young age. You are not interested in construction work or any other type of work. You just love cooking. Maybe that's the person's destiny. Is it a coincidence? Maybe. But I think that everyone has a predestined life.
对，我记得师傅以前给我们讲过您家乡的一个故事
I remember
啊，
there's some must have ever shared the stories about stories in your hometown.
大家也是瞎学哈，就是有随便两个人用手呢扶着一点，就是筛米筛糠那个筛子，筛子下面呢别上一支笔或者别一支筷子，然后在一个很平坦的桌子上哈，把这个白面呢。
So in my village, there is this part whereby people use like a tray with holes, and they will use that to sieve like flour. They will do that actions. They will do these actions, and why they do that is that they hope to know about the future. So two persons will hold on to this sieve. They do not know any words. So when someone wants to ask questions, in their heart there's this God, they will come to help them. And there's this elderly sister, and say, look at me. Okay, look at my, what's my life? So they will say, oh God, please come, help us then. What happens to this elder sister? What type of job will she get? And they will just move the sieve. And they'll find that there's certain words that comes out, and the word is with
就是用这个高粱杆经过加工之后编织出来的一个铺垫代替褥子的一种东西，席子当然也用芦苇编的都有。
So it is like a straw mat.
织大席是一个我们家乡来说，女人编织它挺累的。
Actually, to do that, to weave that mat, it's actually a very tiring job.
结果终于她的命不会干别的。
Well, indeed, this elder sister, that is what she's capable of. Then another child, 10 over years old, and her concern is, why have a wife? So two persons will hold on to this sieve, and the words comes out is wife. So the girl, when she saw this, she was so happy. She has a wife when she grew up, but the wife only lived for 1 year. And after that, the wife drowned in the river. And then
果然都应验了。
he had a second
也
wife.
就是说，这个
So the
大
prediction
人
was
物
quite
哈有大的这个天命，
accurate.
也就是命运哈。
So basically,
小人物一
everyone
样
has
有
a
天命
predestined life.
哎，对，什么样的人都有天命。
It really depends
就看
on
你的天
whether
命是
you are a
干
normal
啥
person,
每个人来到
ordinary
世上都
person,
有天赋的使
or
命哈
对对
if
有
you
了我们要做的
are
事情
high-ranking
所以通常说人的这
ministers,
个
you have that
寿
life.
命啊、财富啊、子女几个和子女状况，等等的都
In fact,
都差不多。
The major events of your
如果
life
很会算的人都
are
能够
fate.
算。
People who are good
这
at
是一
making
种
their
定
predictions, they will be able to read that for you.
是
师傅还有一个问题，就是关于这个
Master, I
伯
have
姬的故
a
事
questions regarding
伯姬
Bodhi.
跟那个吕后，他们两个其实都是曾当过那个皇太后嘛。
Actually,
都有上
Bodhi
天
and
子的命按理来
Empress
说
Lü
那
both
为什么
became
就是吕后
empress
她的那个
before.
孩子刘盈，
But
他
why
就
is
是
it
年纪
that
轻轻就
Liu
去世
Ying
了，而且
he
就做了
died
8
at a
年的
very
皇
young
后
age? He was only
但
an
是就是
emperor.
伯
He
姬
was
的
only an
这
emperor
个
for
皇
8
太
years
后
old.
能创造文景盛世。
But
那
why
这
is
么
it
成功
that
的一个皇帝
Bodhi's
就是
son
这个
was
伯姬
able
跟
to make the kingdom
这个吕后的
flourish?
这个天命这方面有没有什么
Is
不一
that
样？
something got to do with the Empress Lü
这
and
个
Empress Bo's
我首
fate?
先是说哈，首先是说这个这也是天命。
I think this is
第一
fate
个我
as
相信
well.
天命，
First, I believe in
就是
fate,
说包括是来捣乱的，也是一种天命。
including those that come to create
但
troubles.
是我
That is also
更
fate.
相信一点的呢，
But what I believe more
教育的事。
is educations,
比如
the
吕
importance of educations.
他生的那个儿子，
For example,
比如当8
Empress
年
Lü,
好当几年
who
好
was the emperor for
这
only
个
8 years.
预言师呢一定会预言他这个儿子可能当8年天子。
I'm sure the prophecy is for him to become an emperor for 8 years.
但是天子和天子不同啊，因为吕后，因为在那个时期啊，
But don't forget,
尤其
during
所
that
谓
era,
文明的人
people
一定
who
要
are
学习一种什么精神
educated,
呢就是孝顺。
they have to learn
尤其是孝
about
顺
filial piety.
在中国古代尤其强调这一点。
It
说
is
你
highly
养育你是
regarded.
最
It is important for you to
亲
be
自来
filial
抚育你
to your
培养
mother
你教化你，对不对？呵护你。所以说
because
你给
they
谁
nurture
翻脸都
you.
不能给母亲翻脸，在历史上一直是这样的。
Historically, has always been like that. The importance of motherly love,
孝当中
and
第一
it's
个孝
important to
顺
be filial to the
其
mom.
次孝父亲。
So first is the mom,
那
followed
我
by
觉
the
得像
dad.
吕后哈，她的
So for
孩子
Empress
陆
Lü,
哎，我觉得是这个能量呢，就是这个他儿子这个天子的能量被吕后分去了一部分。
I think
他用这个
Empress
他的
Lü
权力这个能量
has
杀了很多无辜的人，
used her
虽然
power
杀了很多是
to
同
kill
族
some
的人。
innocent people.
你想啊，当时他的小皇帝也是刘邦的孩子，
Can you
杀的那
imagine?
几个其他小孩也是他的兄弟嘛，
He,
同父异
the
母的兄弟
Empress Lü killed other
啊，什么舅舅
people in
等等
other related relatives.
都是他自家的亲人。
They're all
可是被他的
relatives
母亲吕后
or
杀了。
half
那么
brothers
这些
of the
整个
son.
杀人的这个罪，
So the whole
那更使得这个小皇
the
帝
killings
更加显得
done
能
by
力
by
匮乏，
Dowager
身体虚弱，
by Empress
所以使得
Lü
这个小皇帝哈，
affected
历史
his
上没有
son.
几个人知道，还有刘邦还有这么一个孩子当过皇帝嘛，都从人们的记忆之中好像被抹去了。
So in fact,
还有他母亲的这个专横哈，
because the mom was so
都不太
powerful,
承认这个皇帝。
not many people remember this part of the
这
history
个他的
that
这个
actually
道德
Empress
权威
Liu Bang has this son.
使得他的这个
So
能
it
量
was actually
使
Empress
得他这个
Lü.
能量
It was her energy
啊，至少
that
善的能
override
量
part of the
善的
son's
能量
energy.
减弱了
And that's why his
恒天
son
大道能量登得太
was
强
not powerful.
杀人太多，所以你
Empress
曾
Lü
经
has
是被
killed
害
too many
但是
people.
你一旦缓过手来，丈夫去世之后，没人管得了你了。她就
When
开始一种
Liu
叫
Bang died,
肆无忌
no
惮
one
的
could
暴力
control
的
her.
杀
No one could control
这是大家都讨厌的行为。
Empress
所以她
Lü.
在历史上是挨骂的。
And that's why,
她亲
based on
她
the
自己亲生
historical
的孩子
records,
呢在历史
she
上
was
没有留下
not
什么
highly regarded.
这也是个因果。
对于妈妈
So
的这
that
个
is because
父亲
嗯
of
有
karma.
直接的关系
感恩师傅讲。
Thank you, Masters, for
那这个伯姬哈
enlightening us on
她是有
this.
生天子的命， 他的这个为人处事的哲学，这个不争不抢哈，隐忍的智慧，他可能是不是不生天子，他也会能够兴家。
So, Master, my question is for Bodhi. She is a very kind and very wise person. What if she doesn't give birth to the son, the emperor? Will she be good? Well, if a person has such virtues, it is impossible for her not to flourish wherever she is. So, the first of all, she'll be able to bring power and prosperity to the husband families. And secondly, the child will be raised well. She is not. Because of her, people will help her. So there's this saying that I help others, and that's why others will help me. Although she has no desire for that, but people will help her because of her kind personalities. They do that willingly. So people who help others willingly, they will be highly regarded and well-liked. So for Consort Bo, because of her personalities, her descendants, her families, will have good positive outcome. And that's because of her kindness. So that's why when Bodhi's son, the Consort Bo's sons became the emperor, because of his kindness, because he was very magnanimous, he was well-liked and highly regarded in his kingdom. Before Liu Bang's staged the rebels, it was actually the Qing dynasty. The Chinese know about the Shangyang's reformed. What is that? It is a methodology. It is the Tao reformed. It's talk about the unifications of heaven, earth, and the humans. What does that mean? They want peace. And it's a form of theory. There is another one, another who believe in heaven, earth, and the emperor. That is Confucianism. There is another teachings, the fast, and that is the belief that the legalisms, they believe that a human being is born as a bad person, and you need to have rules and law to be enforced in order to maintain law and order. If there's no law and order, imagine someone crash a red light and injured someone. The driver will be able to escape any law terms. So the belief, there's another belief system that says that humans can be good and bad or bad. But if there's no law and order, if there's no rules and regulations, there will be no law and orders in the society. So if that happens, if there's no law and order, it will be chaos. So in legalism, they use a lot of rules and law and regulations to ensure harmony in the society.
痛苦的结果。但是他还坚持说我的法一定要流传下去。所以在这个当年的这个秦国哈，
So during the Qing
那个
kingdoms,
时候还没有
during that time,
皇帝那个时期哈，秦国持续了6代皇帝。才
Qing
传到了
dynasties has 6 emperors.
因为他们这么特别，就是相信这种法则，
Because
和
they
非常
believed
严
in the very strict
苛的法律惩罚这样的
legalism,
一种精神指导下，
that type of
那么
philosophy.
变得很强盛。
That's why
它的
Qing
农业生产呢，工业
became a
制造
very powerful kingdoms.
所以它才强大了。攒了6代人，秦始皇才统一了天下。
They took them 6 emperors
思想对于
to
秦国的
unify
整个
China.
建设起到了一个重要的一个帮助。
So this legalism
对啊
is the
所以当时
foundations
秦国就是说
of
你
the
们家里头
Qing,
不管
the
是哪里
rise of the
人啊
Qing
你们
kingdoms.
家大门不用锁，没有盗贼敢进去。因为躲
During
不到
Qing
逮住盗贼之
reign
后先剁一只手，才敢去啊。
Because of so strict law and order,
吃饭也不方便
nobody needs to lock their
逮
door.
住2次砍2只手。
Because the rules was that the person who robbed will be chopped off and arms. So in comparison to the caning in Singapore, it's nothing in comparison.
所以这个到了这个汉文帝
So when
到了
becomes
汉
the
朝了其实
Han
这个几十
dynasties
年哈到了汉朝，就是到了这个汉文帝之后，
during Empress
他
Han
老人
Wen,
呢
what was
宽容慈悲
he changed the mood
传
entirely.
成为叫做无为而治，
He believes in compassion.
就是说
It's a
天
Tao
地自然是一
philosophy.
体的，都是来自于一个
Because
母体，
the
对不对？
belief of
所以
Tao
本来
is
就
that the
一样的
unifications
怎么
of
到
heaven,
谁
earth, and
都
human
是
beings.
好孩子
Everyone is a
错
good
了之后
person.
适当的说一说，惩罚一下就行了。
So
本来
you
看我现在
want
就现在罚
to
5000两银子
reprimand,
就是
but you don't want to be
用
too
罚款
harsh.
多于惩罚啊，掏点钱不至于让你去坐监狱，不在于是
They will not have very harsh
什
punishments.
么割耳朵
They will
呀
not
割
have
手脚啊
get rid
剪
of the
十字
arms or the
除了
legs.
很多非常严酷
So
的
they
那种
removed a lot of very harsh
很多
systems.
折磨人的酷刑都给废掉了。
Some of the very serious
我们对
punishments
坏人的宽容
they had been eliminated
其实
during
适
that
当的宽
range.
容哈，对整个社会的经
In
济发展
fact,
特别有帮助。
A certain level of magnanimous in the society will help the society to flourish.
就是到文帝去世
So
前的时候
after the Empress
他们
Wen
国
passed
库
on,
的放那个铜钱哈，
the
过去的铜钱圆的，中间是个方的一个孔嘛。
the
这个
wealth
这
that
种
the
发明特别好
nations
就拿
have
个绳子
created.
穿过去可以背在
So
身上
during
不
that
怕
time,
钱
money is
这个
a type of is a
如果
copper
没有孔
coin,
呢像那种
and there is a hole in the middle that
圆
allow
好就没有
thread
孔就不好
to tread
不
through.
好携带。所以呢，到了这个汉文帝统治10几年之后，
So after Emperor Han Wen
这个
reigned
钱
for 10 over
堆积
years,
如山呐，
they have
就整个变成
accumulated
个
a lot
国
of
富民
wealth,
强
a national
到
wealth.
了这样一个兴盛时期。后来他去世之后，他儿子景帝
And
接了
when
他
he
一样
passed
把
on,
他做法儿
Empress
他说
Jing
还是维
followed
持
the
这个
dad's
无为
footstep,
而治特别的
followed
宽
the
容
same governing
他们这个叫
principles.
什么政治文化
And that's
经
why
济科技
During the dynasty rule of Wen and Qing, the entire country flourished.
带给我们这么好的一个故事。
Thank
啊
you, Masters,
那
for
我这里
giving
也有一
us
个
such
故
a
事
very
想跟
interesting
分享
stories.
好，好，
I now have a story to share with Master. It's the story of a bowl of plain rice. And 20 years ago, during one dance, a young man who appeared to be a college student lingered outside a self-service restaurant in the streets of Taipei. When most of the diners had left, he hesitantly pushed open the door
男孩低头轻轻地说
and he asked softly, "Could I have a bowl of plain rice, please?"
创业的年轻夫妇
The young couple, who had just started their business in the restaurant, saw that he didn't choose any dishes, felt puzzled for a moment. But without asking further, they immediately served him a bowl full of plain rice. As the young man paid, he hastily said, "Can I have some broth poured over the rice?" The lady boss smiled and replied, "Of course, feel free to use it. It's on the house." Midway through his meal, the young man thought that since pouring broth over the rice was free, he ordered another bowl. "One bowl isn't enough, huh? This time I'll give you a bit more," the meal boss responded warmly. "No, it's not that. I want to take it back and put it in the lunch box to take to school for lunch tomorrow." The boss, hearing this, speculated that the young man must come from a less privileged family in the southern countryside, had come to study alone in the north, and might even be working part-time while studying. And the difficulties of his situations could be imagined. So she softly placed a ladder of the restaurant's signature's minced pork at the bottom of the lunchbox, and also added a braised egg, and finally covered it with plenty of rice, making it look like just a bowl of plain rice. The lady boss understood the boss's intention to help the young man, but she couldn't understand why he didn't just add the minced pork openly to the rice instead of hiding in the bottom. The boss whispered gently to the lady boss' ears. If the young man sees rice with toppings at first sight, he might think that we are giving him charity, which would hurt his pride, wouldn't it? This way, he won't be embarrassed to come again next time. If he goes to another place and only eats plain rice, how can he have the energy to persevere in his studies? You are such a good person, helping others while still preserving their dignity. The lady boss' words was filled with sympathy and admiration. If I weren't already married, would you marry me? The young couple were immersed in the joy of helping others. Thank you. I'm full now. Goodbye. The young man got up to leave. When he received the heavy lunchbox, he couldn't help but gaze back at the young couple. Keep up the good work. See you tomorrow. The boss waved to the young man, conveying a message to him to come back to the restaurant tomorrow. Tears welled up the young man's eyes, but he didn't let the young couple see them. From then on, except for consecutive holidays, the young man came almost every evening, eating a bowl of plain rice in the restaurant and taking another one to go. Of course, under the plain rice he took away, there was a different secret hidden every day. Until the young man graduated for the next 20 years, the restaurant never saw the young man's figure again. Until one day, the nearly 50 years old self-service restaurant couple received a notice from the municipal government to forcefully demolish their illegal building. Faced with middle-aged unemployment, their savings had been spent on their son's education abroad. Thinking about the future, with no support and falling into financial difficulties, they couldn't help but cry in sorrow in the restaurant. At that moment, a man wearing a brand-name suit look like a high-level manager from a big company suddenly appeared. "Hello, I'm the deputy general manager of a large company. Our general manager had instructed me to come here, hoping to invite you to open a self-service restaurant in the office building we're about to open. The company will provide all the equipment and ingredients, and you only need to lead the chefs in cooking and dishes. As for the profits, you and the company will split them equally. Who is the general manager of your company? Why are you being so kind to us? We don't remember knowing such a distinguished person." The restaurant couple looks puzzled. "You two are our general manager's benefactors and good friends. The general managers especially liked the braised eggs and minced pork from a restaurant. That's all I know. Let's talk about the rest when you meet him in person." Finally, the young man who used to only order a bowl of plain rice each time reappeared. After 20 years of hard work, he successfully built his own business empire. He owed everything to the encouragement and secret help from the self-service restaurant couple. Otherwise, he would never have been able to complete his education smoothly in the first place. After they talked about the past, the restaurant couple prepared to leave. The general manager stood up, bowed deeply to them, and respectfully said, "Keep up the good work. The company will need your help in the future. See you tomorrow." That's a good story. It's a very warm, it's a story filled with warmth and kindness. was because of the help rendered by the couple. I'm sure some restaurant owner will meet some people like this. But when the couple helped them, they talk about his dignity. They try to avoid showing him that kindness. So this is definitely a form of cultivation. The couple, the restaurant owners, the couple has very high level of cultivations. And they did that for every day. And they have no desire for any things in return. And years later, at the most difficult moments of the couples, he reappeared. And that's why there's this saying that don't refrain from doing good deeds just because they seem insignificant. Because you really don't know what will happen in the future. Maybe in a time comes when you need help. Such kindness may manifest itself. So do good, no matter how small, and do not do anything bad. Indeed, as stated in the Earth-Soul Bodhisattva's Sutra, it is important to lowering one's heart with a smile. That's to humble oneself when you help others. You need to preserve the dignities of others, performing good deeds without expecting anything in return. I feel that the couple, the restaurant owners, they gave a very good feelings. Indeed, they demonstrated lowering one's heart with a smile. Master, there may be some people who face that they are quite a kind person and they also do a lot of good deeds, but they still face obstacles in life. Actually, there's a story about this, and I'd like to share with all. And that's the Tang dynasties in a small mountain. There is a man called Qiu Kaiyuan. He had a very straightforward personality and was quite hospitable. So one year, there was a wandering Taoist monk visited, and Qiu Kaiyuan warmly welcomed him, provided him with accommodations for a night and engaged in deep conversations. The Taoist monk reminded him that to do good, no matter how small, and do not do anything bad, no matter how insignificant it is. After that, he vowed to do more good deeds from then on and took the advice of the monk. So whenever a family encountered difficulties, he made every effort to help, contributing money and physical labor. So in the village where he lives, there was a river in front of the houses, but no bridge. So to cross to the other side, people had to take a detour of over 10 miles to reach the nearest bridge. So the villagers had discussed multiple times to pool funds to build a stone arch bridge over the river. But due to insufficient funds, the plan was shelved. Qiu Kaiyuan decided to build the bridge himself, and during the dry seasons of autumn and winter, he gathered his family members and erected 2 bridge pillars in the middle of the river using stones. The following spring, he hosted a banquet and invited several relatives and friends to help cut down more than 10 trees from the mountain. At home, he used axe to shape and fix the wooden planks, constructing a simple wooden bridge. On the opening day of the wooden bridge, villagers came to watch, cheering and applauding his achievements. Well, because building the bridge has caused him to lose weight, his family had endured hardship as well. Now receiving everyone's affirmations, his heart blossoms with joy, finally experiencing the pleasure of doing good deeds. However, a few days later, while farming, Qiu Kaiyuan accidentally fell and was bedridden for over 3 months before being able to walk again. It cost his family lots of money to treat his injuries. Concerned about both the money and the husband, his wife complained, "I think heaven is unfair. You have done so many good deeds, yet you haven't received any blessings in return. Just think about this bridge alone. How much effort you put into it. Why should you suffer like this?" Qiu Kaiyuan smiled and gently comforted his wife. And 2 years later, the elderly young in the village slaughtered a cow and called on Qiu Kaiyuan to help, because he has a cow at home that just given birth to a calf. And recently, elderly younger son felt seriously ill, and the doctor said that his condition was weak and required high-quality ginseng to strengthen his vitality. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to withstand the potency of the medicine and might end up disabled. So the elder young had no money and planned to sell the cow, but unexpectedly he couldn't get a good price. After considering it, he figured it would be more profitable to slaughter the cow and sell the meat. The butcher brought the knife, and Qiu Kaiyuan and others went to tie up the cow. At that moment, the calf broke free from the ropes, emitting a series of cries, and knelt in front of the butcher while the cow also cried out, kneeling on the ground, tears streaming from her eyes. This scene was unbearable to watch. So Elder Yang said to the cow, "It's not that I'm cruel, but we need money at home and I have no other choice." He then said to the calf, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to separate you from your mother either, but it was no other way for me." So Qiu Kaiyuan, already in tears, said to Yang, "Forget it, don't slaughter the cow, I'll buy her." The elder Yang hesitated, and Qiu Kaiyuan said, "I understand your predicament. I will pay a higher price, not less than what you get from selling the beef." So the elder Yang then smiled with joy. So Qiu Kaiyuan paid the money. He brought the cow home and fed her. And every 2 or 3 days, he would lead the cow to Elder Yang's house, allowing the cow and calf to reunite. Not long after, Qiu Kaiyuan went to a friend's house for drinks. During the banquet, a witty person told a joke that made everyone burst into laughter. Qiu Kaiyuan choked on his drink and took a while to recover. But from then on, he developed a hiccuping conditions. He hiccuped frequently, especially when eating, making it impossible for him to enjoy his meal. Despite taking medicines for over a month, Qiu Kaiyuan's hiccuping didn't improve. One day, while his wife was serving him medicine, she sighed deeply and said, "You are a kind-hearted person and always do good deeds. Yet, why do you still suffer? How can hiccuping conditions torment you for such a long time? I think heaven is truly unfair. Isn't it there's a saying that good deeds bring good rewards? Where are your rewards? In my opinion, you shouldn't do good deeds anymore in the future." After speaking, his wife began to cry, and Qiu Kaiyuan comforted her for a long time before she stopped crying. However, his wife's words make him doubt. Could it be that saying that good deeds bring good rewards was false? Although Qiu Kaiyuan had doubt in his heart, he did not stop doing good deeds. Whenever he encountered someone in need, he would do what he could to help, never standing idle by. One day, Qiu Kaiyuan went to a city to visit relatives. During a casual conversation, his relative mentioned that a fortune teller from out of town had arrived in the city. He was extremely accurate in his predictions and has a unique ability to communicate with the underworld. Intrigued, Qiu Kaiyuan followed his relative to visit the fortune teller. The fortune teller glanced at him and said, "You are a kind person. I can give you a reading. Even if I did, it wouldn't be accurate." Qiu Kaiyuan asked in surprise, "Why is that so?" The fortune teller smiled and said, "The fate of good people is always changing. Good deeds bring good rewards, so they cannot be predicted accurately." Qiu Kaiyuan admitted, but I feel like my fate hasn't changed at all. I think good deeds bring good rewards. It's a lie. The fortune teller said, "Your fate has already changed. You just don't know it." Qiu Kaiyuan argued, "But how can I prove it?" The fortune teller laughed and said, "If you don't believe me, I'll take you to the underworld to find out." After saying that, he instructed his relative to guard the door and not let anyone disturb them. Holding Qiu Kaiyuan's hand, he closed his eyes. Qiu Kaiyuan felt drowsy and soon fell asleep in the chair. Before long, they arrived at the entrance of a grand hall. The fortune teller told the gatekeeper, "I want to see the judge." The gatekeeper let them in. They entered a room where a person resembling a judge was seated. The fortune teller bowed and asked to examine Qiu Kaiyuan's life and death register. The judge took out, placed on the table, and the fortune teller flipped it open for Qiu Kaiyuan to see. Although the writing was in an unfamiliar script, Qiu Kaiyuan could read it all. It stated that on a certain day, he was supposed to break his leg and become crippled, but because he built the bridge, it was changed to a minor injury. There were many other entries such as illnesses he should have contracted, bites from snakes he should have suffered, and losses of wealth he should have endured, all of which were cancelled out due to his good deeds. The last line read that in a certain years and month he was supposed to choke to death on alcohol, but he was saved because he saved the cow. His life was extended by 10 years. After reading it, Qiu Kaiyuan finally believed that doing good deeds indeed brought blessings, even though he was unaware of it. The fortune teller bid farewell to the judge and brought him back to the mortal world. Upon waking up, Qiu Kaiyuan stood up and thanked the fortune teller. The fortune teller said, "That's why I say the fate of good people cannot be predicted. As long as you continue to do good deeds, you will receive more blessings, and you may even extend your life. It's truly unpredictable." From then on, Qiu Kaiyuan became even more determined and confident in doing good deeds, and he lived a peaceful life and passed away peacefully at the age of over 90. So changing fate doesn't always result in great success or immense wealth. It could simply mean averting a disaster or turning a major event into minor ones and trivializing minor ones. Actually, I remember that there are some similar situations in our meditation center. There are some Dharma brothers and Dharma sisters, they are diagnosed with terminally ill disease. And upon arriving at our centers, they are still alive 7-8 years later. Indeed, there are many ways to extend their life.
对，还有的都忘记之后，还甚至有一天有点什么腿痛腰痛啊，还会问，哎，我为什么这么修还会腰痛腿痛呢？你都忘了说曾经什么医生告诉你还活半年。
Some of them, remember, some of them the doctors has predicted that they can only live for half a year. But they're still alive after 7 or 8 years. Often they may not even realize that their fate had been altered. Actually, there are many of them, and one of them, in Malaysia, in one of the meditation center, one Dharma sister who worked in the bank, he has pancreatic cancer, and he actually removed the pancreas and even removed the ovaries and even part of the stomach and some of the intestines. And one of her friends introduced her to Bodhi meditations. So when she came, she practiced, and she found that the practice was very well. She consistently practiced for 4 hours on a daily basis. Not only she practiced herself, she also engaged others in the practice, and she also involved in volunteering. And she continued to work for another 4 or 5 years. So in fact, not only her, what's amazing is that she's still alive after so many years. Yes, indeed. For a cancer patient, not many people can be alive. She's still alive. I saw her a few years ago. Most of the time for pancreatic cancer, it's the lifespan once from diagnosed to their end of lifespan is about 3 years. But for her, she managed to, she's probably alive for more than 11 years.
本来是诊断的是那个有的是乳癌，还有
Some of them,
记得
they are
在
diagnosed
还有
as
是
breast
肝癌
cancer or liver
3家医院
cancer.
都证明它是肝癌。
The hospital already
对，那一个是我们
diagnosed that they are already the end stage liver cancer. They came and they
最
practiced.
快的一个，最快的一
One
个
of
是一
them
个礼拜以后
Was like after a
去医
week
院检
later,
查
went back to the hospital to check up.
他到之前给他定性的这个
Before
3家医
that,
院3家医院
The three hospital, the diagnosis was the same.
检查有问题，说你没癌症，
And then they,
实际上是我们帮他做了一
是
个处理。
改命了。
and after that, when she went back to the hospital again,
还有修法的，好，
they found that there's no more sign of cancer.
对，
那
By
非常确
coming
定化
To the meditation center and through her cultivations, she managed to alter her faith.
啊，真是很难以理解。
This is something that's
那么还
unimaginable.
有的不是这么严重的病，
But for some people,
就是他
their
一些
illness may
慢慢
not be
好
so
了
serious.
还有一些就是灾难嘛。
Some of them may be a
所以
forms
有
of
些
calamities.
面相是挺好的哈。
Some fortune tellers are very kind when they see something that's going to happen in the future, like they're going to have accidents.
就平安就度过去了。
They are still able to pass that hurdle peacefully or pass that
他
calamities
觉得就是没有灾难
peacefully. But for them, because the calamity didn't happen, they felt that they didn't have the calamities. Actually, sometimes it's because of the good deeds that they did
看了这邱开渊
that
的
had
真的
helped
就是明白
to
了
trivialize
就是其实平时
the
能够
matters.
平平安安的活
So
着
by looking at, by listening to Qiu Kaiyuan stories, sometimes to be peaceful and safe, it is already a blessing.
无虽为
So it is important to remind all that
人为恶，
do good and though blessings may not be appear, danger has already left.
所以呢，
And do bad and though dangers may not
众
appear,
善奉行
blessings
啊，
have
就是
already
莫因
left.
这个
And that's always
善小而不为
important
啊哎
to remember
所以我们
this.
平时要学会
No
积
matter
累
how
的
trivial
就是有一
the
种
good
叫
deeds
热
may
情
be,
善的
you want to
这样一种意
continue to
念
do it.
让自己每
And for
天都
evil
能做一
deeds,
点
no
善
matter how small it is,
让自己
you
每
try
天
to
都能给
avoid
别人
doing
带
it.
来一点好处。
Do good, no matter how small, and don't do bad, no matter how insignificant.
其实行善不止改变我们
Do
自
one
身的
act
命
of
运
kindness
还
a
有
day.
自己的来
It will
世
help to
还有
alter your
自己
life.
会传承
And
给
not
我们
only your
子女
future life, you will also pass on the
所以
blessings
就是说
to your
这个往子女
descendants.
身上还有自己的未来
And also not just your
人
descendants'
很多都已经
future,
生了
it's
那
also
我说
for
善
your
是
own
最最好的
future.
嘛
You may ask, but I already have
那能量
children.
它可以
Will
遗传
it
给每
really
个新
change
概念
my
不是
descendants' futures?
这个你的
Indeed,
孩
it
子
will.
很大，包括你的
It, no matter how old your child is, because you'll be able to pass on the blessings to them.
相当的
It will be quite significant.
是吧？比如给这个长辈祈福哈，延寿啊，给长辈祈福做功德，能够去天堂啊、极乐世界啊，这些
They may go to heaven, or they may go to the Pure Lands
生他之前做功德才有效。
by doing
啊
accumulate
所以
good
对
deeds for your
为后人、为家人做功德。
for your family members. They will be able to accumulate merits
孩子，我这边
so that they will elevate to Pure Lands or heaven in the future when they pass on.
败家的儿子
So we have
得势
another story, Master, to share.
在唐朝哈天宝年间
It's
呢
about the
有一个
prodigal
姓
son.
惠的官宦世
And this is
家
a story during the Tang dynasties in the Tianbao era. There was a prestigious family named Hui.
那惠恩英呢从小
By the
体
time
弱
of
多
Hui
病
Enning, the
父母啊
family's
就把
time,
他
they
送
have
到寺庙里去
dwindled
寄
and
养
leaving him
成
as
为
the
了
sole
俗家弟子
heir.
到了16
Hui
岁以
Enning
后
was
呢
frail
还是
since
回家
childhood,
娶了
so
妻
his
子
parents sent
因为
him
只
to a
有这么
temple
一
to be
个女
raised
儿
by a lay
父亲呢
disciple
也不让他
as
做
a
官
lay
就当
disciple.
起了富家子弟
So at the age
那
of
惠恩英
16,
结
he
婚
left
多
the
结婚
monastic
多
life
年
and
一
married.
直无子就没有
Because
孩
he
子
was the
真
only
的把
heir,
他也急
the
坏了
father
四处
did
求
not want
神
him
告
to
佛
become an
终
official,
于
and
在他
instead he
30 岁
became a
这一
wealthy
年
merchant.
老婆生了一个儿子
But for many years,
可是儿子出
Hui
生后
Enning and
一
his
直
wife
啼
remained
哭不止
childless,
到了
causing
第
him
三
great
天
distress.
惠恩英啊就去拜
Finally,
见庙
at the
里的
age
老
of
方丈
30,
想
his
请
wife
方
gave
丈
birth
看
to a
看是
son.
怎么回事儿
However, the baby cried a lot after birth. On the third day, he sought counsel from the old abbot of the temple, whom he considered a father figure. And the abbot said, "Your son is special. Let me
这
talk
个
to
时候
him.
啊，老方丈来到会
The
家，
abbot
拍着
visited
婴
Hui's
儿的
home,
额头说道：
touched the baby's
你已
forehead
经
and
如愿
said,
以偿，
Your
为
wish
什么
has
呢？
been granted.
婴儿
Why
的哭
cry?
声戛然而
The
止。
baby
惠恩婴儿就
immediately
年轻
stopped
老方
crying.
丈给儿子
Hui
起的
Yaning
名字。
asked the abbot to name his son.
老方丈想了想，
After
就
some
取
thoughts,
名为
the
化
abbot
无，
named him
就是
Hua
大
Wu,
事化小，
meaning
小事化
turning
无
big
的化
things
无。
into small
那
ones
惠
and
恩
small
有欢
things
喜啊，
into
就
nothing.
把老方丈
So
请到
delighted,
厅堂
Hui
里奉
Yaning
茶，
invited the
也
abbot
问
for
起
tea
他为
and
什么说
asked
自己
him
的儿
why
子大
he
有
said
来
that the
头呢？
baby was
老
special.
方丈笑而不语。
The abbot just
这
smiled
个
and
儿子
remained
惠化无
silent.
呢，刚过1岁啊，就
So
开
when
始得了
Hui
一
Wu
种怪
turned
病，
once,
时
he
好时
felt
坏，
ill with a
还经
strange
常要
ailment
吃
that
药。
required
吃
expensive
药啊都是
medicines,
好药，帮
including
人生
costly
啊讲的
herbs
是一
like
个好
ginseng.
树木。那等到惠化无
So by
5
the
岁的
age
时
of
候呢，
5,
惠恩英呢
Hui
就想
Yaning
效仿
wants
自
to
己小
send
时
him
候，
to the
也
temple
想
for
把儿
care.
子送到寺庙里去寄养。可是呢，
But
却被老方丈
the
婉
abbot
言拒
politely
绝了。
refused.
惠恩英很生气地
Angered,
说：
Hui
我们
Yaning
家
said,
是这个寺庙的
Our
大施
family
主啊，
is the
每
major
年都
patrons
拿出
of
了
this
几千
temple,
两银子供奉
contributing
香火，
thousands of
现
taels
在
of
需要
silver
帮忙，
annually.
怎么不给一点
Now,
面
when we
子呢？
need help, you
老方
refuse
丈
to
叹口气
cooperate.
说：
The
也好，
abbot
我
sighed
告
and
诉你原
explained,
因吧。你的
Very
儿子
well,
啊
I
是
will
来
tell you
败
the
家的，
reason.
你们惠家
Hua Wu
命
is
中
here
啊
to
注
squander your
定会
family
败在
fortune.
他手里。
It is
他的
destined
怪
that the
病
Hui
主要是
family
消
will
耗
fall
钱
because
财
of
的，
him.
与体质无
His
关，
illness is
所以呢
primarily
也
a
不能
drain
寄
on the
养在
wealth,
寺庙里。
unrelated to his
那惠家的祖
constitutions,
上做
so he
官，
cannot be
为了
raised
敛
in the
财，
temple.
做过很多
The
伤天
ancestors
害
of the
理之
Hui
事，
family, in their
影
pursuit
响了
of
惠家
wealth,
的气数。
committed many
到了你
unjust
这一
acts,
代，
which
人丁
affected the
稀少，
family's
身
fortune.
体欠佳，
In your
就是气数
generations,
使然。
with few
那你
descendants
爷
and
爷
poor
呢，以
health,
前
it
在
is
朝中当大
inevitable.
官，
Your
对一个姓
grandfather
吴的
used to
高
be a
官有
high-ranking
矛盾，
officer
他
in
们
the
互相
court,
诽谤，
and
最
he
后
had
你爷爷
conflicts
占了
with
上风，
another high
把那个卢
official
高官
named
给搞
Liu.
垮了，
They
卢
slandered
高
each
官被
other,
斩首，
but
家产
eventually,
也被
your
抄，
grandfather
后代
gained the
流
upper
落
hand
到
and
乡
brought
里
now
要去
Liu.
种田。
Liu was
卢
executed.
高官死后啊，魂
His
魄在
property
阴间，
confiscated,
四处
and
告
his
状，
descendants
要
were
求回
reduced
到
to
阳间
farming
报
in the
仇。
countryside.
可是阴间早
After
有安
Liu's
排，对
death,
惠家
his
也已
spirit
经实施了
complained in the
惩罚。
underworld,
卢高
seeking
官还是不
revenge in the
服，
mortal
层层
realms.
上告，从
However,
冥界
the
一直告
underworld
到
had
天
already
界，
punished the Hui
最终
family.
被批准
But Liu
投身到
persistently
惠
in his
家，
complaints,
败光惠家
escalating from the
所有家
underworld
产，
to the
让惠
heavens.
家后继无
Eventually,
人。
permission was
讲完
granted
缘
for
由
Liu's
之后
spirits
呢，
to
老
enter
方
the
丈
Hui
叹气
family,
说道：
bankrupting
万事
them
皆有
and
因
leaving
果，
no
一个人的
descendants.
生活遭遇都是
After
命中
explaining
注
the
定，
reasons,
故此
the
老
old
衲
abbot
无能为
sighed and
力，
said,
爱莫能助啊。
Everything has its cause and
惠
effect.
恩
A
英听
person's
完
life
了，心里
experiences
沉
are
甸甸的，
predetermined.
垂头丧
Therefore,
气回
I can
垂
do
头丧
nothing
气
to
回
help.
到家里，闭门不出。
Hui Yaning
苦思
felt
了3
heavy-hearted
天
after
3
hearing
夜，头发
this
也白
and
了一
returned
圈。
home
想
disheartened,
不到惠家
shuttling
苦
himself
心经营了
indoors.
几代人，
He
都要
pondered
毁
for
在
3
儿
days
子
and
手里，
nights.
一切
His
都成了
hair
妄
turned
然。
white.
他从小
He
在寺庙
realized
里长
that
大，
despite
也深
generations
受
of
佛
hard
法
work by
熏
the Hui
陶。
family,
3天后呢，他
everything
忽然
would be
顿悟，
ruined by
既
sand.
然一切都
It
是
all
身外
seemed
之物，
futile.
又何必念念不舍？
Having grown up in
他
the
原来
temple
一直
and
以为
influenced
勤俭
by
持家
Buddha's
是一种
teachings,
美德，
Hui
如
Yaning
今
had
看透了生死
feelings,
名
had
利，
thoughts
就
after
开始
3
捐
days.
献家财。
Since
与其
everything
让儿
is
子败光，
impermanent,
不如拿
why
来
cling
做
to
些
it?
好事。
He had always
于是
thought
惠
thriftiness
英把
was a
家产
virtue,
委托给
but
管家
now
去管，
he
自
saw
己
through
呢
the
就开始
illusions
热
of
衷
life
于
and death
建
and
桥
material
修
wealth.
路，救
He
济穷
decided to
人，
donate his
捐
wealth
钱
to
捐
good
物，
causes rather
穷的
than
吝
let
啬。
his son squander
而
it.
且啊，他还找到
Hui
卢高
Yaning
官的后人，
entrusts the
赠送
management
了
of his
许多
estate
财
to his
物，
steward and
让他
devotes devote himself to building bridges, roads, and helping the poor. He donated generously and even reached out to Lu's descendants, providing them with resources to afford educations. When Hui Huawu reached the age of 7, he became rebellious, avoiding studies and getting involved in mischief with other village children. One day, while playing with fire, he accidentally started a blaze and destroyed several houses. The villagers approached the Hui family demanding compensations. Hui Yanning knew deep down that this was just the beginning of his retributions. He didn't blame Huawu. Instead, he generously compensated each household in the village by building several large tile rooftops. The villagers benefited from the disaster and refrained from reporting the incidents to the authority. Sometimes Hui Yanning would suddenly watch his son, wondering what trouble he would cause next. The following year, a famine struck the north and many refugees poured in. The streets were filled with hungry people. Hui Hening gathered his entire family and donated money to help the refugees. He left behind 3,000 taels of silver and a granary for the family's use. The remaining silver and a granary were used to set up a porridge stall to feed the refugees. And he also bought many cotton clothes to distribute to them. By the following spring, when the refugees returned to farming, Hui Hening's wealth has been depleted by 80 to 90%. A year later, Hua Wu's health suddenly improved, and his temperaments changed drastically as he began to focus on studying. Although the Hui family was financially weakened, there were still enough resources to support Hua Wu's education. Hui Hening has already given up hope on Hua Wu and didn't bother to push him academically. However, his teachers admire the students and often praise him in front of Hui Hening, predicting that he would become successful one day. Hui Hening didn't pay much attention to it. The only thing that gave him his comfort was that Hua Wu stopped causing trouble. So Hua Wu excelled in his studies and passed the imperial examinations at a young age, becoming an officer. Due to his family background, he received high position in the court and married the daughter of a high-ranking officer. Later, when Hui Hening and the old abbot chatted casually, they reflected on the past. So the old abbot sighed and said the world is ever-changing, and the son's fate changed, and the family was able to continue its lineage, all because of your decisions to give up your wealth for good deeds.
有时候等过了一段时间之后，发现这种情感好像并不是纯粹的一个情感。
Sometimes for the kids, when they grow up a little bit older, maybe they have illness and they have to spend money, or they cause some troubles, or they are there to squander the wealth of the family. Actually, they're there to cause trouble. And when the kids becomes older, they may indulge in gambling or taking drugs, all actions that will squander off the wealth. There are many of such examples. It seems that they are here to claim the debt. It seems like their desire or only intention to come to this world is to able to reclaim the debts. So it's really disgusting when you have a child like that. And the worst is that you can't do much to them because they are directly related to you. And that's why there's this saying that if it's not because of the debt that you owe each other in the past, you will not meet each other in this lifetime. Actually, a lot of these are relationships is between the father and son, or husband and wife, or the parents and child, and the couple, or parents, or the husband and wife. Well, they may get married, and after they get married, they may engage in continuous fight. So the more they fight, they accumulate more debts. And some, it may be relationships between two persons, or strangers becomes friends. Some may be because of colleagues. Some may be employer-employee relationships. They are there to cause destructions. But there are some good karma, good relationships. They appear to help you because of some past relationships from the past life. They are there to protect you. And sometimes, when you look at some people, you like them because they helped you. They are the benefactor of your life. The type of relationship is hard to explain. It may be something that they did in the past. There may be some debt they pay to repay. So for Hui Hening, when he spoke to the old abbot, when they chatted, they understand this very well.
那事实真糟钱呐，对不对？哎，这个老和尚再加上解释，他才理解。
Initially, Hui Enning wouldn't understand. It is through the explanations of the old abbot that he finally understood this.
名财的话就会出事儿啊，就是你不义之财得来的是。
Especially for wealth that don't belong to you.
出去，对。那比如说别人拿你的钱，你很狡猾，对不对？拿不了走。但你的亲生孩子呢？你没有办法吧？
So for other people, we can refuse to let them take your money away from you. But what if it's your own child?
欠了。
They are there to squander your wealth. What can you do? And that's why it's a form of debt payment.
那他这样子算不算就把这个债还了？然后之后就是反正把一个败家的孩子就变成一个。
So because of his good deeds, a prodigal child transformed into a child who brought prosperity to the family. That was the eventual
孩子
outcome.
也变成一个好人了。
So after he repaid all the debt, the child became a good person. And this transformation is because because of Hui Enning, after heard what the old abbot said, he started to accumulate merits by giving away and giving donations. And as a result, the son transformed.
对，所以也是我们今天听了这么多故事。
And that's why today we heard of so many stories about the fate and the importance of the predestined life, whether is it good or bad, it is formed by the accumulated debts from many lifetimes. And the actions of this life will also affect the fate of future generations and descendants. And we talk about it many times, the fate of this life, whether good or bad.
我们当今的人都是学习的这个知识面太广。
A lot of time people learn so much. It's difficult to cheat another person because people have high level of intelligence. It is not easy to cheat another person.
我自己能想通，
When I research
能够
upon
各
this,
种证明能
I ponder is that a way to prove that my belief is correct. I must personally believe in that, then I'll be able to teach it.
命运如何命相结合起来的？
Actually, when life merge with the facial, with your facial studies, or link with the birth date
理
time,
解不了，对不对？
is that something that you can explain? No, it is very difficult to explain. But if you look a person's face, everyone look different. Even if they are a twins, a pair of twins, the look will be different.
再加上这命相特征，你看有些就是从成功的到败家的，
Some people are
到中
successful.
途甚至被犯法枪毙的等等各种这个相。如果你会看一点的话，
If you know a little, it's all written on the
孩
face.
子还小，比如16、17岁，
If the child is
他
young,
的好事也好，坏事也好，这个时候还没有表现出来的时候，
they may not have to appear.
如果找算命先生给算
If
的
they find a fortune teller
其实通
to
常
try
如
to
果好
read
的
the
话
fortune,
大家就会很开
if
心
it's if it's
如果算出来
considered
不
good,
好的话
everybody will be very
你就会
happy.
生气。
But
你说你这
if
算命的胡说八道，
the
你这样不但不给钱，挨打。
if the fortune teller said that it's bad, then it will cause unhappiness.
你就要去承受什么？那就奇怪了。所以我在研究这个命相的时候
So when I learn
确实
about
很
the
多人
fate,
的就是有什么样的相，
a lot of time the person's appearance, the physiognomy will affect your fate. So they are all interrelated and intertwined.
比如说我呢，假设先学相，
Say, for example, if I learn that
这个
first,
人
and I say that this person,
这个额头还比较饱满，
if the forehead is very full
五官比例
and
协
the
调
eyes is very
这个
bright
还是一个
and the main features are very proportionate,
那
that's a good
由这个
sign.
相上来判断说这个
So
人
from that physical appearance, you can make a predictions of the life. But for people who know how to read the fortune,
一算
if they know the birth date, time, day,
我再
time,
给他讲相，他一看
they'll
这个
be
人这个人就
able
说
to make some predictions. And after they gather that, and when they look at the person, they'll be able to come to conclusions that, oh, that's why this person has this type of good life.
那到底看的人哈来解读
So
你的
the
命
person
的
who is
相
a
的人
fortune
哈
teller,
有没有这么高的
whether he has
知
the
识
high
和
level
功夫
of
能不能
knowledge and
把你的
abilities,
这个正
whether
语
he's
言
able
能说得
to
很
see well,
这是这个算命者的水平问题。
it is dependent on the
所以
level
对
of
我
the
们
fortune
长得
teller.
我们的相
Got
我们的
nothing to
命没有
do
关系
with
就是
your own
解读
life,
你
your
命
own
的人
faith,
是不是有这么
and
多
your
的
facial
智慧
features. It is purely based on
有的算命的，
the
我们
knowledge
他
level
就说的
of the fortune teller.
很，这叫什么笼统，对，很笼统。
Some fortune teller very generic in their predictions.
师傅说的不一样啊，对，有的就是很笼统哈，就怎么说都行。可是像刚刚咱们之前师傅讲郭宝昌的那个大导演，他给他算了命，那就是
But Master, just now the story that you shared about
啊，
the directors,
所以你听
the
的时候
director
哇真
stories,
是头皮发麻
he's very accurate in his predictions. The Guo Baochang
回忆到
stories.
很多类似这样的事，对，从我的师傅啊。
Actually, I heard many of this. I heard from my own masters. I've heard other great fortune teller masters. They were pretty accurate in their predictions.
8岁来看的时候，别，就是他想给他找一个好学校啊，怎么找好名医看呢？师傅说，哎，别看了，就说，你对他好一些就可以了。也就是说，他呢使命可能就是到9岁就走了。你现在看病也没用。
So there was someone that brought an 8-year-old child to my master, and the master looked at it and said, "Well, it's okay, don't bother." Maybe the master didn't say much, but just said that no need to do anything. Maybe the child can only live to 9 years old. Maybe the master saw it, but it's too difficult to actually
肉之前
say that to the parents.
受的
So if you want to know how your future will be like, you just need to look at your current deeds.
啊，这是我们的命运。
So whatever that you endure now, the pain that you endure now, is because of the actions you have done in the
至
past.
于我们的
So whatever good things that happens to you today is because of the virtues that you accumulated in the past. So if you want your future to be better,
善心
you want to make sure that you have a kind heart, you have used kind words,
要有善
you
意
do
啊
kind
所以
actions,
你要说好话
and you will
不要
be
总说
able
一些
to
特别
have
伤人的
accumulate
话
merit. So make sure that your
对
words
所
do
以
not
有这个
hurt
善心
others.
哈也特别的
There's
重要
It is very
所以我
important
倡
to
导
have
呢
a kind
就
heart.
是说让自己做一个善良的人
And that's why I
来
always
倡导
preach
说
for you to be a
能不
kind
能试着
person.
学着叫日行一善
And it's important to consider doing an act of kindness every
不
day.
用说你一天有
This
这么
act
多
of
的
kindness can be a very simple
每
task,
天都可
can
能
be a
有一
simple
种发一个
deed.
善心给别人带来好
It
处
doesn't mean that you have to make a certain amount of
这
donations,
都
and
是
that is
日行一
kindness.
善
No. You may just help another person, a small act of kindness.
不要是
One act of
就是
kindness
临
a day.
在大难临头来报
Don't
复
wait
就
for
好
major
这是
events to happen that you want to carry
把
out
这个
kindness.
善行积累起来
You just want to be able to accumulate kindness,
非常美
a
好的
deed at a time, one good deed a day.
感恩师傅。所以就是日行
Kind
一善
heart,
也是
kind thoughts,
日
kind
久天长
actions,
可能也就
and
养成
kind
了这样
words.
行善的
So
习
once you
惯
start doing
啊
this, it becomes a good habit.
那虽然一
Like
直
we
行
talk
善
about
但
the
是
story
开
of
始
Qiu
看到有
Kaiyuan,
什么
he
好的
kept
回报
doing
或
good
者习
deeds,
惯了他
but
还
he
是会
didn't see a
看
good
见需要
things
有
in
难的
return.
人就去
But
帮
because
对
he has
所以
already
其实这个
developed
习
these
惯特别重
habits,
要
嗯
就
it
变成这个
becomes
善良哈
an action
最
that
后
he would do
从
every
听到
day.
执行最后这个善心和你的精神合而为一
So once you
善良
have
就是
this
你
kind
的
heart
善良
merged
而
with
你
your
所有的
thoughts,
行为就是为了
and
善良
all the
而
actions
不会
will be
轻易地
kind,
去
a form
夺
of
别他人
kindness,
的伤害
and you
别
will
人
not cause
不是
harm
这
to
样
any other person
因为善良是你的习惯
because it has becomes your daily ritual.
是，就是可能也是一个自我的提醒。
Maybe
啊
it's a
我就是一
form
个善
of
良的
self
人自我的定位，
re-
我就是一
rem-
个好人。
a form of trying to remind yourself that to
就是我
continue
们
to
其
do
实
this
在
kind
这个
deeds
修
on
行
the
中
daily
哈不断
basis.
提醒自己其
In
实也
fact,
在
in
不
our
断提升自己
cultivation,
的
we must
进步
always remind
当
ourselves
这个
that it's
善也
important
很
to
小善和
elevate
大
our
善哈要
cultivations.
慢慢通过积累
And it is
不断地
through
沉淀
accumulations,
不断地提升
it
的
is
就是
through
你的
slow
善念
accumulations
在不断
that
地
you
积
will
累和提
elevate
升
to
的
a
过
high
程
level.
就从小善变成大善
So from a small act of
从
kindness,
爱
it may
自己
becomes
爱
a
他人
greater
最后
kindness.
变成叫利
Maybe
益
from
众生
loving yourself to loving
对把
others
这个
to
善
serving mankind. So this type of kindness will expand and elevate. And you become a person with great compassion. So what I want to remind you is that this path, it is a path of enlightenment. It is a path of accomplishments. In Buddhism, we know that a common person's love for another person is a self-love. The person look at me, stare at me. The person badmouth me. Or the person may feel that, I have pain in my shoulder. Is it because I'm going to die? Because the person is very negative in thoughts. That's not good. So a kind-hearted person must let go of the feeling of self and to help others. It's like Bodhi that we shed. She always brings kindness to others. She doesn't compete with others. Usually kindness in itself, no one will fight with you because you have no interest to compete with others. The other 2%, they are too greedy. You want to get rid of others. It's a win-lose situation. You want to get rid of others in order for you to raise up. But if you're a kind person, you have no intention to get rid of other person because you are a kind heart. You have no intention to cause harm to others. And that's why it is important for you to learn to help others. And it's okay for you. Actually, disadvantage is a form of blessings. So this is something that I want to give to everyone. This advantage is a form of blessings. It's a blessing. So learn to do an act of kindness daily. So Master, this class is so important. Thank you, Masters, for the guidance. Now the Bathing the Buddha festivals is approaching. It's May the 15th. It is a celebration of the birth of Sakyamuni Buddhas. And we always say that this is the most auspicious time to accumulate merits, because doing good merits, doing good deeds can change one's destinies. And thank you, Masters, for having these opportunities to do light offerings. And this light is Buddha's illuminations light offerings. It's 18 days. And it's only USD $68. You can make these light offerings. You'll be able to help us and our families to ward off calamities, to receive wisdoms, health, longevities, and wish fulfillings. So this is a good auspicious time, not only to open the doors to great blessings, it will also help to eliminate life obstacles, increase our wisdoms and longevities. So we learned so much today, and the importance of accumulating our merits. Thank you, Master. And we have another good news for all. And in Qiu Kaiyuan, now we have very special Dharma treasures available for all. These 4 treasures of the studies, and we also have calligraphy brushes. There are 4 different types, and they have different carvings. And that's Master's special design. One is rays of prominence, emerge victorious, success in examinations, and bright future. These are very good feng shui treasure. You can put in the children's rooms and help the kids to gain new wisdoms. So these are good presents for children. And besides this, in Qiu Kaiyuan, there are very special brush pots. This is a small treasure jar and blessed with wisdoms and fortune. Thank you, Master, for the new design for us. These are all that can help to
智慧的
bring
人智慧的
wisdoms
孩子哈，
to have wise children at home.
最期盼的，孩子能够有所就是能够走正路哈，能够开智。
And it's important for the children to be on the right
在
path.
我们今天的这个直播圆满之前呢，也想祈请师父。
And before we complete this live broadcast, we'd like to request for Master's blessings. The live broadcast sponsors merits. Indeed, definitely. And bless all who helped in the sponsorship to receive health, auspiciousness, prosperities,
收到。
great fortunes, and successful career. And the whole entire family enjoy harmony and happiness, and health and
我们
longevities.
也看到了，
And thank you
我们
all.
把这个赞助名单啊，都放在了这个师傅的这个桌子上了哈。
So we have placed the list
佛光
here,
普照
and we receive for
那个跟网友
blessings.
们分享一下，其实
And we'd like to share
自从我们
that
的 YouTube 开播以来
after
哈
our
特别受
YouTube
到网友的
subscribers,
欢迎哈
because it
一
has
路以
been
来
it has
不断地
become
在
very
增
popular.
长哈那现在
And
YouTube 的粉丝
right
都
now,
超过1600
We have
万
over 60 millions of YouTube subscribers.
超过500万
And for Facebook fans, we now have over 5 millions of fans.
那涉及的国家
As for the
呀
countries
达到
coverage,
170个国家
we have 170
全世界
countries coverage. Entire world is about 180 over countries. I think we have reached the footprint to various parts of the world.
比如说有哪些国家呢？
哎，就比如说欧洲
What
啊
countries do
哈
we
欧
have?
洲其实很多
So
国家
in
和世界
Europe,
国家都有
there are many countries in
什么
Europe,
北欧啊荷兰
in
呐
North
这个还有
the Nordic
中国
states,
德国呀法国
in
意大利
Germany,
呀还有
France,
保加利
Italy,
亚呀
Bulgaria,
这个爱尔兰呐
Ireland,
一些小国摩纳
and
哥
some
卢森
small
堡
countries,
欧洲
even
基本上
Morocco,
都有
都铺到
many,
哎
many,
对
many
那
countries.
北美呢
And in
美
North
国可以
America,
看
of
看
course,
比如说
Canada,
南美很多国家
North
都有
America,
啊这个
and
秘鲁
even
啊
South
阿根廷啊
America,
智利啊
Argentina,
巴西啊
Chile,
还
Brazil,
有非洲的很多
and
国
even
家
Africa, a lot of
哎
African
埃及
states
呀
as
摩
well,
洛哥呀
even
塞尔维
Egypt,
亚呀
Morocco,
贫富的国家
and
都
even the poor countries as well.
亚洲其实
In fact, for Asia, we have many countries in Asia as well. That's great news. Thank you, Master, for allowing us. And actually, since 2023, the online videos has been viewed 300 million times.
师父的佛光已经照到
Master's
很多很多国人的
illuminations
心中
has reached many people all around the world.
师傅，
好，那这个通过大家的这个帮助哈，
So through everyone's help,
来给大家讲一些知识的这个信心呢
And
会越来越足。
I have more
我也
confidence
希望说把吉
to
祥
share
和
with
有
all.
价值有用
I
的
hope
这
to
些
bring
东西哈
auspiciousness,
跟大家分享
good fortunes
从
with
修
all,
行
from the
生活的各个
areas
方
of
面哈
cultivations
还有大
to
家
all
各种
aspects
烦恼
of
事物的
life,
哈
or even the
都和大家
troubles
一
that
起
you
讨
meet.
论
I hope to be able to discuss with
对
you
给大家
and
做这个
provide
服
you
务
with
哈
some guidance.
感恩大家的支持哈
And I have a lot of gratitude for your
所有的
support
支持者哈
and
所有
wishing
的朋友
all
朋友哈
supporters and all our
如意吉
friends
祥
to enjoy
健康长寿
auspiciousness,
收到
health, and
大
health and
顺心如
longevities,
意
prosperity,
家族兴旺
收到
and prosperity for the family.
下期直播
Shall we
下期
mention
直播
about the
时间
next
呢
live
是亚洲
broadcast?
台北
Yes,
时间
it's
哈
Asia
也是
Taipei
周日
time,
的晚上
May the
7
12th,
点
7
那温哥
p.m.,
华时
and
间呢
Vancouver
是
time
周日的凌
is
晨4
May
点
12th, 4
好的，那我
a.m.
们今天的直播内容就到
So
这里
now
哈
our
谢谢
live
大家
broadcast
我们
come to a
下次直播
successful
再见
completion. See you during the next live broadcast.
人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我自在了。因为有了你，生命变得更坚定，不忧忧无虑。因为有了你，日子不再有哭泣，不再有恐惧。我快乐了，我快乐了，我健康了，我健康了，我幸福了，我幸福了，我美丽了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我智慧了，我宽容了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我慈悲了，我自在了，我自在了。因为有了你，了解生命的真理，修行的意义。因为有了你，日子犹如彩虹般，彩虹般美丽。我快乐了，我快乐了，我健康了，我健康了，我幸福了，我幸福了，我美丽了，我美丽了，我快乐了，我快乐了，我美丽了，我美丽了，我幸福了，我幸福了，我美丽了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与您相遇。小小的红点